Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. After dying hundreds of millions of times, I copied my talent and killed all races. Chapter 21. The chi and blood medicine Su Mu wanted to prepare was the bone-strengthening muscle powder that he posted on the researcher forum. Generally speaking, the most common blood tonifying medicine on the market is Bushui powder. The price of raw materials is about 3,000 yuan. However, the bone-strengthening and muscle-building powder that Su Mu prepared is not only about 3 times more effective in replenishing qi and blood than the blood-bending powder. And the raw material price is only 1,000 yuan. Su Mu's 30,000 yuan bought enough to prepare 30 pairs of bone-strengthening and muscle-nourishing powder. And Su Mu also has the body of an intelligent insect in his hand. The strength of the intelligent insects is not strong, but their health value is much stronger than that of ordinary first-level aliens. It is definitely enough to prepare these bone-strengthening and muscle-nourishing powders. Su Mu quickly prepared the medicinal materials according to the formula of bone-strengthening and muscle-nourishing powder given by Shenlin. It probably took more than an hour. Only then did all the medicinal materials finally be used up. Because of lack of configuration experience. From the ingredients of 30 pairs of bone-strengthening and muscle-raising powder, only 28 pairs of bone-strengthening and muscle-raising powder were prepared. 2 pairs of deployments failed and turned into waste products with no improvement effect. Looking at the 28 small bottles in front of him, a sense of accomplishment arose spontaneously. These 28 pairs of bone-strengthening and muscle-nourishing powder should be enough for me to use for a month, right? Taking out a small bottle alone, Su Mu carefully put away the remaining 27 small bottles. Immediately, he took another 1-liter bottle from the kitchen. The ratio is about 1 to 10. When the bone-strengthening and muscle-strengthening powder is brewed into the bottle, a strong medicinal fragrance immediately hits your nose. Start practicing. Su Mu sat cross-legged on the ground. Start taking Zhuangguyangmusi powder and practice. A mouthful of bone-strengthening and muscle-building powder enters the stomach, and it only takes a moment. Then he felt a powerful medicinal power spreading towards his body and limbs. Feel the power. Su Mu's face was filled with joy. Without hesitation, he began to practice the 10,000 races body refining technique. The Great Ape Tribe Chapter. Jinpeng Clan Chapter. The Vajra Bull Clan Chapter. Each action is realized through Su Mu's body. In the room, one could only vaguely hear Su Mu's heavy breathing from time to time. A month passed quietly. In the room, Su Mu picked up the towel on the side and wiped the sweat from her forehead. In front of you, a light blue interface quietly emerged. Name: Su Mu. Vitality value: 101.75. Early stage for a first-level warrior. Physical refining technique: the body refining technique of 10,000 races, the Great Ape Clan Chapter, the Golden Rock Clan Chapter, and the Vajra Ox Clan Chapter. Breathing method: innate fetal breathing method. Martial skills: none. Talents: X level. Copy after death, SSS level. 12 hours of recovery after death, Book of Wisdom, Sword Heart is clear, a level, makeover. Finally, I have stepped into the first realm of warriors. A hint of joy appeared on Su Mu's face. During this month, he took Zhuangguyangmusi powder to practice almost whenever he had free time. And the effect is naturally gratifying. With the help of bone-strengthening muscle powder, as early as the 20th day of practice, his qi and blood value had reached 99, and he spent the remaining 10 days breaking through the final one. Fortunately, hard work paid off, and finally during today's practice, the strength he had accumulated in his body for a long time was able to completely break through the last layer of film. Only when one breaks through to the first level of martial arts can one truly embark on the path of martial arts. Not only can he officially start practicing martial arts, but according to Shen Lan, he can also start practicing meditation. Visualization is a method that can enhance mental strength. This kind of concept is originally only known by some races that use spiritual power as their attack method. Among the human race, until the demise of the human race 10 years later, no human race had figured out a concept suitable for human race cultivation. The main reason for this is that visualization is a method of tempering mental strength. The mental power is much more fragile than the physical body. A large part of the human race's cultivation methods are modified to a certain extent based on the cultivation methods of all races. Among all races, some races that practice contemplation have very strong mental power. Therefore, when practicing contemplation, there is no need to worry about being unable to withstand the power and dying due to the explosion of mental power. But the human race is different. The concept of all races is too powerful for the human race. It's like letting a snake swallow an elephant. If you are not careful, you will burst yourself. If humans want to practice contemplation, they must either awaken a talent that can greatly improve their spiritual power, or they must gamble on the 1 in 10,000 chance of success in trying again and again. But Su Mu is different. On the one hand, Su Mu has experienced many death relapses. Although each death will deplete his mental power, it has also tempered his own mental power invisibly, making his mental power far stronger than that of ordinary humans. Much more powerful. On the other hand, Su Mu has the ability to revert to death. If someone else tries it once and fails, they may die from mental exhaustion. But Su Mu, there are unlimited opportunities for trial and error. However, Su Mu was not ready to practice immediately. He had to wait for 12 hours to pass. Otherwise, if he had to go back then, it would have been 12 hours ago. Well, he would have to break through from the 9th level of martial arts disciple to the 1st level warrior again. After resting for a while, Su Mu skillfully logged into her researcher forum account. In this month, he published several more articles on physical training and breathing techniques. Now, his researcher account has reached level 1. At the same time, there were nearly 600,000 Daxia coins lying in the bank account. This bank account was opened before when he wanted to receive the Nightwalker bonus. Of the nearly 600,000 Daxia coins, 150,000 were the bonuses given by Nightwalker for volunteering for righteousness, and the remaining 450,000 were Su Mu's earnings from the researcher forum. This money may not be much to a wealthy family, but to an ordinary family like Su Mu, it is undoubtedly a huge sum of money. Su Mu's idea is to wait until some time to save millions. Replace your family with another house. My house is only 50 or 60 square meters in total. His parents and his younger brother Su Yang share a room. Because he usually has to exercise and study, he has a room of less than 10 square meters by himself. On weekdays, if everyone gets together, it may be inconvenient to even turn around. If we could move to a bigger house, everyone could live more comfortably, and his brother Su Yang wouldn't have to complain all day about his father Su Dashan snoring every night, which kept him awake. Just thinking about it, Su Mu suddenly found an additional message in her researcher's background. Dear Savior Researcher, I am the prescription authorization negotiator for Danfang Pharmaceutical Company. I would like to talk to you about cooperation. Danfang Pharmaceutical Company. Su Mu raised her eyebrows slightly. He had heard of the name of this pharmaceutical company. Many famous blood tonifying drugs come from this company. From the perspective of the qi and blood medicine industry alone, Danfang Pharmaceutical Company is definitely a leading company in the field of drug preparation. Hello, Su Mu replied with a message. I originally thought that the other party would not respond so quickly. But what Su Mu didn't expect was that as soon as Su Mu's message was sent, the other party responded immediately. Hello, Researcher Savior. I finally contacted you. I am the prescription authorization negotiator of Danfang Pharmaceutical Company. My name is Ji Yu Qian. Hello. It's like this, Mr. Savior. Our Danfang Pharmaceutical Company is very interested in the pharmaceutical formula of Zhuanggu Yangtze powder that you released. Are you interested in licensing the pharmaceutical formula? We can pay you a large sum of money for authorization. Don't worry, the price our Danfang Pharmaceutical Company can pay is definitely the highest on the market. As a leading company in the pharmaceutical preparation industry, they do have the confidence to say this. What price can you give? The quotation we can give here is probably between 4 million and 5 million. If it is specific, we can discuss it in detail, because after all, you are the author of the pharmaceutical formula, and you must know more about the characteristics of the pharmaceutical that we don't know. We might as well give you a specific quotation based on the properties of the medicine. What do you think? Okay, let's find a time and place to discuss it in detail. Okay, let's see when you are free. If you have time. Su Mu thought for a moment. It was getting late today, and I had to wait 12 hours to practice contemplation. Tomorrow, the school will conduct monthly tests, and I also have something to talk to my class teacher about, so I probably won't have much time. As for the day after tomorrow, I will have some time after practicing. He has a fixed training time every day, and basically does other things in his spare time. So when arranging things, you have to consider not taking up his cultivation time. The day after tomorrow. As for the location, it's the Landing Cafe on 7th Avenue, right? Okay, then I won't disturb you anymore. Closing the chat interface, Su-mu took a long breath. I felt a little excited in my heart. He thought that if he sold his medicine formula and licensed it, he could make a lot of money. But when the other party quoted a high price of 4 to 5 million, he still couldn't help but feel a little jump in his heart. Still haven't seen much of the world. Su-mu shook her head helplessly. It's not his fault. At his age and in a family like his, it is rare to see even 100,000 yuan in his family. He had managed to get tens of billions before, and he died before he could even feel the charm of money. Nowadays, although these millions are not as good as the tens of billions before, they can be obtained and used. With these millions, he can really buy a bigger house for his family. Thank you, Deep Blue. Su-mu sighed. A deep blue mechanical voice also echoed in his mind. It is my honor to serve you. 12 hours passed quickly. At this moment, Su-mu sat cross-legged on the ground. He was ready to start practicing meditation. There are many benefits to practicing meditation. As a warrior, if you have strong mental power, you will get twice the result with half the effort in terms of cultivation and combat, because strong mental power means that your reaction speed and observation ability will be much stronger than the opponent's. In addition, mental power itself is also a means of attack. Among all races, there are races that specifically use mental power to attack each other. They are called spiritual masters by the human race. When the human race encounters such enemies, they always suffer a lot. Many people even deliberately take some heavenly materials and earthly treasures that can enhance spiritual power during their cultivation, as well as the flesh and blood of some alien races who specialize in spiritual power. However, the effects of these improvements are definitely much worse than those of contemplation. And for Su-mu personally, there is another biggest benefit of practicing meditation. That is to be able to support him in continuous counterattacks. With his current mental strength, you can roll back up to 2 times in a row. After 2 times, you will feel very weak. If you force it for a 3rd time, you may even reach the edge of collapse. A mental breakdown is different from a mental explosion. A mental breakdown is equivalent to your consciousness and memory disappearing, and the person will be in a state of stupidity and madness. So Su-mu has always wanted to improve her mental strength as much as possible. The improvement of mental power means that he can make continuous counterattacks. In other words, being able to go back even further in time. For example, he can now go back twice, which means he can go back up to 24 hours, which is 1 day ago. The mental energy consumed will take 2 days or even longer to recover. In this way, mental power also limits the maximum time Su-mu can retreat. And if Su-mu's mental power is improved, even the loss of Su-mu's mental power will be minimal. Then Su-mu can completely go back to any time point in the past. When that time comes, he feels that his 12-hour death rollback can be renamed to infinite rollback. The death rollback at that time will definitely reach the level of an EX level talent. However, it is destined to be a long and difficult road. Shaked his head. Think no more. Su-mu began to try the ideas that Shenlan found for him. The method of contemplation that Deep Blue found for him was called contemplation of gods and demons. It is a concept method created by Deep Blue based on the concepts of 2 races of natural spiritual masters among all races. The gods among them refer to the Tieni Protoss. The main characteristic of their clan's concept is order. The spiritual power they cultivate is holy and stable. Although their attack power is not that strong, they have extremely strong recovery capabilities. The demons among them refer to the Purgatory Demon Clan. The main characteristic of their clan's concept is chaos. The spiritual power they cultivate has terrifying and violent attack power, and also has a certain corrosive power. The concept of gods and demons after Deep Blue's adaptation is mainly to cultivate the mental power of both of their concepts at the same time, so as to continuously erase and rebuild one's own mental power. Use the spiritual power of the Purgatory Demon Clan to continuously destroy your own spiritual power, and then use the spiritual power of the Tieni God Clan to continuously rebuild your own spiritual power. In the continuous erasure and reconstruction of mental power, the mental power is strengthened step by step, and finally possesses a mental power that has both characteristics at the same time and is extremely tough and powerful. The process of cultivating the concept of gods and demons is actually very similar to Su Mu's own death relapse. It can be said that this method of contemplating gods and demons is the most suitable method for Su Mu. However, the difficulty of cultivation is also quite high. Su Mu not only has to constantly try out the 1 in 10,000 way that can cultivate the spiritual power of the Tieni God Clan, but also the 1 in 10,000 way that can cultivate the spiritual power of the Infernal Demon Clan. In the end, you have to experiment with the eradication and reconstruction of the two mental powers to find a cultivation path that may not even have a 1 in 10,000 chance. Start practicing. Pong. Well, wait another 12 hours. After using up 2 turnaround times, Su Mu still failed to successfully practice the concept of gods and demons. He didn't even take the first step to cultivate the spiritual power of the Tieni God Clan. However, Su Mu had already expected this result. As he continues to retreat, his mental power slowly improves, and he believes that the success rate of practice will also become higher and higher. Both physical and mental exhaustion prevented Su Mu from continuing to practice. Instead, he fell asleep on the bed. When Su Mu woke up, it was already the next day. Today is the time for the school's monthly awakening test. Because everyone awakens their talents differently and practices different breathing techniques, etc., after the talents are awakened, the school will let the students go back to practice on their own. If they have any questions about their practice, they can choose to go to the school or a nearby martial arts gym to ask. I will only go back to school every month during the Qi and blood tests to have the Qi and blood values tested. And if the Qi and blood values tested on this day have greatly improved compared to a month ago, then you can get the first-class scholarship issued by the school. The first-class scholarship is worth 30,000 yuan. For Su Mu now, although 30,000 yuan is not a lot, it is enough to buy a lot of Qi and blood medicinal materials. It just so happened that the bone strengthening and muscle strengthening powder he had prepared last month had almost been consumed. This little money can be used to buy some new medicinal materials in the market. This time, I also need to buy some alien corpses, which may cost a lot more than last time. In addition, Su Mu is also planning to discuss with the class teacher and ask the school to write a letter of introduction for him. By the time Su Mu arrived at school, it was already around 9 o'clock in the morning. Because after the strength is improved, the 5 senses are also improved. So from far away, Su Mu heard many classmates in the class discussing their respective cultivation progress. How much have you improved in 1 month? My blood value has now reached 2.35, which is barely considered a low-level martial arts disciple. At this rate, it shouldn't be a problem to go to Sanbin Martial Arts University in 5 months, right? It's a pity that my family is not very rich and can provide me with there are not many Qi and blood medicines provided, otherwise it might be possible to improve Qi and blood more. Hey, my family bought me more than 30 pairs of blood-enhancing powder. Now my blood has reached 9.36. This speed is only average. I'll go, 9.36, you really deserve to die. At this rate, it's not impossible for you to go to a martial arts university by then. There was a burst of envy among the classmates. This is nothing to you. Do you know how much Fang Ling's Qi and blood levels have been increased? I heard that her family not only prepared physical refining and breathing techniques for her, but also bought good Qi and blood medicines. The effect of replenishing Qi and blood is about twice that of the commonly used blood replenishing powder. When I asked Fang Ling yesterday, she said that her Qi and blood value had reached 15.86. At this rate, in the college entrance examination in 5 months, she will have no problem getting into a top martial arts university. The first level of martial arts. I have already reached the admission standards of the 3 martial arts universities. I really hate it. For me, the starting point for others is the end point where I have to work hard for several months. Sure enough, some people are born in Rome. Some people are born as cows and horses. I'm not curious about Fang Ling. Her family is in good condition, and her improvement speed is nothing. What I'm more curious about is what level Su Mu's health level is now. When Su Mu was mentioned, the surrounding students suddenly became quiet. That's right, Su Mu. Everyone naturally did not put Su Mu in the comparison. Nothing else, it's really because in their minds, Su Mu should already be the definite number one in this session. I think his health value can reach more than 20 points at least. After all, Fang Ling has already reached more than 15 points. Less, Su Mu's qi and blood value can reach more than 4 points after practicing for the first time, which is 3 or 4 times higher than Fang Ling's. If his qi and blood value does not increase to 50 or 60, oh no, 40 or 50, I feel like his talent was wasted. Don't forget, Su Mu's family is not as rich as Fang Ling's family. Without sufficient blood medicine and blood food, no matter how talented you are, your improvement will probably be limited, right? You think it would be a bit funny if Su Mu's improved health value is not as high as Fang Ling's by then. You guys are really boring. What does it have to do with you how much blood value Su Mu increases? Seeing that some students were not optimistic about Su Mu, some even gloated and hoped that Su Mu's health value would not increase much. Li Shangdong, who was sitting in his seat, interrupted with some dissatisfaction. Everyone doesn't care about their own cultivation progress and stares at Su Mu every day. What qualifications do you have to talk about Su Mu? If nothing else, you have forgotten what happened a month ago. Without Su Mu, Fang Ling might not be able to survive from that pagan worshipper. Which of you has the courage of Su Mu? All of you are cowards still discussing Su Mu. Hey, we are talking, Li Shangdong, why are you interrupting? That's right, Su Mu hasn't even risen yet and she wants to be a dog for others. What the hell are you farting? Li Shangdong heard this and rushed towards the classmate who was speaking. However, his vitality value was obviously not as good as that of that classmate, and he was quickly turned over by that classmate and rode on top of him. He was about to punch Li Shangdong in the face. But the next moment, his fist was grabbed by a hand. The classmate looked up. Su Mu appeared in front of him at some point. Su Mu. Seeing Su Mu, the classmate's eyelids jumped. The next moment, he didn't even react. Then Su Mu pulled it off Li Shangdong's body. Brother Mu. Li Shangdong was happy when he saw it was Su Mu. Su Mu stretched out her hand towards Li Shangdong. Are you okay? I'm fine, Brother Mu. The classmate who had just been grabbed by Su Mu and thrown aside, now did not dare to act presumptuously in front of Su Mu, and quickly patted his butt and returned to his seat. The students around him also looked at Su Mu with some fear and hurried back to their seats, fearing that Su Mu would hear what they just said. Seeing the reactions of the students around him, Li Shangdong also showed a proud look on his face. HMPH, what kind of skill is it if everyone only dares to talk behind their backs? You have the ability to say it in front of Su Mu. As he said that, he looked at Su Mu with a smile. You say so, Brother Mu. Su Mu, however, waved her hand nonchalantly. We are all classmates, don't hurt our friendship because of trivial things. It's you, we haven't seen each other for a month, and your energy and blood levels are only so low. In Su Mu's sight, it was natural to see at a glance that Li Shangdong's health value was only 4.24. Although it is possible to learn at this speed, it is still difficult to get into a better martial arts university. After you test your vitality and blood levels, you can wait for me in the classroom. Su Mu felt that she could help Li Shangdong. Ah, good. Li Shangdong didn't think much and just nodded in agreement. Su Mu didn't come too late. When he arrived, less than half of the class was here. But it seems to be because of Su Mu's presence. Those classmates did not continue to discuss Su Mu. Su Mu really doesn't care about this. Maybe it's because my experience and knowledge are already different from those of these classmates. So the things I care about are already different from them. From the day she got the diary, Su Mu already knew that she was going to embark on a path different from everyone else. Just as Su Mu and Li Shangdong were chatting, Fang Ling arrived at the classroom at some unknown time. As soon as he entered the classroom, Fang Ling's eyes began to look around, and finally stopped on Su Mu. Suddenly his eyes lit up. But Su Mu naturally didn't notice her reaction. Even if he noticed it, he probably wouldn't care. Shortly after Fang Ling arrived in the classroom, class teacher Zhang Heliu finally arrived. It seems that the students have made great progress this month. Jong Heliu walked into the classroom with a smile. After taking a quick look at the students below to make sure there were no shortage of students, he continued, "Is everyone ready?" "Ready. Yes." "Then everyone will line up in 2 rows according to their student numbers and prepare to go to the training hall." At Jong Heliu's order, the students began to walk out of the classroom one by one. When Su Mu was about to walk out of the classroom, suddenly I felt like I was poked by something. Turning around to look, he realized it was Fang Ling. "Classmate Su Mu, this is for you." She held a small pink cloth bag and handed it to Su Mu. Su Mu frowned curiously. "What is this?" This is a thank you gift that my parents asked me to give you, a thank you gift, thank you for saving me. This is a little thought, I hope you don't refuse." Fang Ling nodded seriously as if to confirm his statement. "I wanted to thank you for a long time, but why didn't you reply to all the messages I sent you on Penguin? I was afraid that I would disturb you by going to your house rashly, so I delayed sending it to you until today." When Fang Ling said this, he seemed a little resentful. Su Mu smiled awkwardly and said, "I haven't logged into Penguin for a long time. I'm sorry. We are all classmates. There is no need to be so polite." "That's it." Fang Ling's expression became visibly happy. "As long as you don't reply to me on purpose, that's fine." "So what contact method do you usually use? Can you give me your mobile phone number?" "Well, please remember it, 175****** 7356. Su Mu did not refuse. Fang Ling carefully wrote down the number reported by Su Mu on a small piece of paper. He nodded vigorously, and then stuffed the pink cloth bag into Su Mu's hand. Then he seemed to be afraid that Su Mu wouldn't accept it, and hurriedly walked to the door of the classroom. Before leaving, he said, "Then I'll leave first." Su Mu looked at the cloth bag in her hand and shook her head in confusion. He opened the cloth bag and looked at it. Inside the cloth bag were some qi and blood medicines, as well as a data disk, which looked like it was used to load physical refining techniques and breathing techniques. Adding these things together, there are at least 10 or 200,000. These things are too expensive. Su Mu didn't know whether to accept it or not. He has never been very good at dealing with this kind of thing. Su Mu first stuffed the cloth bag into her drawer, and then blocked the cloth bag with her school bag. Then Su Mu quickly walked out of the classroom. Soon, we arrived at the training hall. The scene is almost the same as last time. However, this time it was different from everyone's excitement and anticipation. Some people's faces were eager to try, while others were a little frustrated. After all, everyone usually goes to a nearby martial arts gym to test their health. I have a thorough understanding of my own situation, and I naturally know whether I have improved or not made any progress this month. Su Mu ranked lower. Among the people tested earlier, Fang Ling was the tallest. The vitality and blood value reached 15.91, which was obviously improved compared to the 15.86 that someone said before. This vitality value is far ahead in their class. Even Jong Heliu was a little surprised. After all, at this rate of improvement, 5 months later, it is not impossible to attend a top martial arts university. After testing a few more people, finally it's Su Mu's turn. When Su Mu's name was reported, the entire training hall seemed to become quiet all of a sudden. This name was deeply etched in everyone's mind during the pagan worship incident a month ago. In addition to being brave and resourceful, he risked his life and saved a female classmate from the hands of a heretic. What makes everyone even more concerned is that Su Mu's first vitality test reached a terrifying score of 4.13. Everyone wants to see how far the 4.13 incident a month ago has reached now. Hey, tell me, after 1 month has passed, how much has Su Mu's qi and blood level improved? I think it's at least 40 or 50. Our class Li Ming's first qi and blood level was only 0.8, and now it's already past 12 o'clock. Su Mu was 4.13 back then, but now she's not in her 40s or 50s. Doesn't that make sense? Who knows, but from the way he breathes and the aura emanating from his body, I think his blood value must have improved a lot. Do you think it's possible that he has awakened his talent in martial arts, which is why he has improved so much fast? Who knows, but it's probably like this. I'm so envious. My awakened talent is just a rubbish talent. Come on Su Mu. Some girls were shouting next to them. Brother Mu, come on. This was the voice of Li Shangdong. In order to suppress the voices of those girls, he even got a microphone from nowhere. He was directly glared at by Zhang Heliu. In addition to these students, teachers also temporarily stopped their work. We got together with class 5. Lao Zhang, how much does Su Mu in your class get in this qi and blood test? It shouldn't be 60 or 70, right? 60 or 70, that's too exaggerated. In 5 months, wouldn't it be possible to reach the level of a first-level warrior? I remember that the top scorer in last year's National College Entrance Examination was only worthy of a first-level warrior. You know nothing. The top scorer in the college entrance examination is nothing. Really powerful people are recruited through genius training camps long before the college entrance examination. Those who take the college entrance examination are all people who have not been recruited in advance. It doesn't count. A real genius, but there is a saying. If Su Mu from class 5 can reach 60 or 70 this time, she might really have a chance to enter the genius training camp. Quote. Okay, don't make blind guesses, just calm down and watch. Zhang Heliu interrupted the teacher's conversation. Looking nervously at Su Mu, who was already standing in front of the qi and blood testing equipment. The next moment, in the extremely quiet training hall, a number sounded that made everyone unable to believe it. 101.75. 101.75. Everyone was wondering if they heard correctly. Several teachers in charge of the qi and blood testing equipment even came to the vicinity of the qi and blood testing equipment to see if there was anything wrong with the qi and blood testing equipment. No problem. Several teachers briefly confirmed it and came to a common conclusion. If there is no problem. So that is to say, Su Mu within 1 month. The vitality value soared from 4.13 to 101.75. Became a first-level warrior. In coming to this conclusion, everyone's eyes were full of shock. They thought that the speed at which Su Mu's blood value could increase would be terrifying. But I never thought it would be so terrifying. In 1 month, it improved by more than 90 points. At this rate, how high will Su Mu's strength be in 5 months? As Su Mu's class teacher, Zhang Heliu could not conceal his excitement and shock at this moment. He could not imagine that such a peerless genius would appear in his class. And those classmates of Su Mu. Now everyone is speechless. Some people had speculated before that Su Mu might not be able to improve her vitality much because of her family. But now, Su Mu's performance is undoubtedly a slap in their face. A level 1 warrior, even if it's just the early stage of a first-level warrior. But don't forget that last year's top scorer in the National College Entrance Examination was only an early stage first-level warrior. The early stage of a first-level warrior. For many people, it is already a height that is difficult to reach in a lifetime. On the way to martial arts, what you cultivate is qi and blood. As you grow older, if you fail to reach a certain height before a certain age, then the qi and blood will begin to decline. Some people spend their whole lives, and I am afraid that even if they are stuck at the 9th level of martial arts, being a first-level warrior is already their lifelong goal. Just like most of the teachers in Su Mu's high school, many of them are only at the 8th or 9th level of martial arts. But Su Mu, who had just awakened his talent and had only been practicing martial arts for a month, had reached a height that they had not reached in more than 10 years or even decades. Brother Mu newbie. Li Shangdong was also shouting excitedly through the microphone. What's rare is that this time, Zhang Heliu didn't care about him anymore. Instead, he paused for a long while and shouted, Niubin. Su Mu newbie. All of a sudden, the training hall was filled with sounds. When you are only a little taller than others, I am afraid that others will be slightly jealous of you, but when you reach a height that others cannot reach, then those people will turn to admire you, because they know that they are no longer on the same level as them, and they may even be proud of knowing you once and going to the same high school as you. This is human nature. Su Mu felt a little uncomfortable with such a scene for a while. When he got off the qi and blood testing equipment, there were classmates who kept casting admiring glances at him. Brother Mu, you are so awesome. I will stick with you from now on. Li Shangdong approached Su Mu with a flattering expression. Su Mu gave him a disgusted look. Come on, I don't like this. Fang Ling didn't know when he came to Su Mu and Li Shangdong. looking at Su Mu with admiration. Student Su Mu, you are so awesome. Can I ask you any questions about cultivation in the future? Of course, we are all classmates, so there is no need to be so polite. By the way, classmate Fang Ling, you gave it to me. Before Su Mu finished speaking, Fang Ling seemed to know what Su Mu wanted to say, and quickly interrupted Su Mu. Student Su Mu, this is my heart. If you reject it, I will be very sad. And the things inside aren't particularly valuable. If you really don't like it, just throw it away. Anyway, it's given to you and you can do with it whatever you want. Fang Ling's words are all about this. Su Mu couldn't continue to refuse. Fang Ling continued. By the way, classmate Su Mu, we should be considered friends, right? Don't call me classmate Fang Ling in the future, just call me Fang Ling or Ling Ling. Su Mu nodded after hearing this. Okay, then I will call you Fang Ling from now on, and you can also call me Su Mu. Hearing that Su Mu chose to call her Fang Ling, the disappointment on Fang Ling's face flashed, but she soon put on a smile again. Okay. Chatted for a while, Fang Lingkai turned and left. As soon as Fang Ling left, Li Shangdong immediately looked like he was gossiping. Tisk tisk tisk, brother Mu, you are so beautiful. It seems that since you saved the beauty last time, Fang Banhua has been treating you. Su Mu glared at him. Don't talk nonsense. Then he shook his head. Why didn't he understand what Fang Ling meant? But on the one hand, he has no thoughts about Fang Ling for the time being. On the other hand, the human race is about to perish, so what else can he think about the love between children? Just as Su Mu was thinking about how to tell the class teacher what she had to do later, Zhang Heliu didn't know when he had arrived at his side. Teacher, Su Mu, that's good. Li Shangdong, you should also learn from Su Mu. If you have any questions about your daily practice, you can ask Su Mu for advice. I didn't expect that the students I teach are already good at martial arts. You've gone further than I have. Zhang Heliu looked at Su Mu, but he couldn't stop the smile on his face. Teacher, you have given me a reward. Su Mu was a little embarrassed. If it weren't for that diary, he would still be an ordinary high school student. Are you okay now? If not, come with me. The principal wants to talk to you about something. The principal wants to see me for something. Su Mu raised her eyebrows. Nodded. Okay. He followed Zhang Heliu to the principal's office where he had been a month ago. As soon as she entered the office, Su Mu saw 3 cups of tea brewed on the table. Come here, classmate Su Mu, teacher Zhang, you will also stay here. After all, we are classmates in your class. The principal invited Su Mu and Zhang Heliu to sit on the sofa. Obviously, compared to the last time, the principal's attitude towards Su Mu this time was obviously a little better. Congratulations, classmate Su Mu. In less than a month, you have stepped into the first realm of warriors. Even the geniuses in the 9th security zone may not be able to do more than this. This time, I asked you, Su Mu, to come over for a few reasons. First, I discussed it with the school leaders. With your cultivation speed, Su Mu, you are fully qualified to win the first prize in 6 months. Waiting for the scholarship, which is a total of 180,000 yuan, we decided to directly award the first-class scholarship to you in advance. In addition, you don't need to come for the blood test in the next 5 months. Well, thank you to the school. Su Mu did not refuse. Although 180,000 yuan may not be much for him at present, he is a child of an ordinary family after all, and he will not think that 180,000 yuan is a small amount of money. Another thing. The principal glanced at Zhang Heliu and then at Su Mu. I don't know if teacher Zhang has told you about it. He paused. Genius training camp. Genius training camp. Su Mu remembered hearing about this in class. But at that time, he knew his own level, and he also knew that this kind of thing related to genius basically had nothing to do with him. So I didn't know much about it at that time. I've heard about it, but I don't know much about it. Zhang Heliu on the side began to explain at this time. The Genius Training Camp is a top training camp established by the top martial arts universities in Daxia with the authorization of the Daxia Martial Arts League. Those who achieve outstanding performance in the Genius Training Camp can be directly recommended to the top martial arts in Daxia in advance without taking the college entrance examination. University, and can directly receive full scholarships for freshmen and various preferential conditions. The principal also said from the side, the scholarships for freshmen at top martial arts universities are different from the petty scholarships offered by our school. It is said that the highest ones can even reach 10 million. 10 million. Su Mu was a little surprised. The principal nodded. This is just the most common reward in the genius training camp. The things that can be learned in the genius training camp are beyond the imagination of ordinary people like us. It can be said that since the establishment of the genius training camp, every genius training camp, those who have achieved outstanding results in the training camp and survived have all become famous figures in the human race. But of course, when entering the talent training camp, you must also be prepared. Zhang Heliu looked at Su Mu. Compared to the ordinary college entrance examination, the genius training camp has a very high elimination rate. It is said that in the first period of the genius training camp, which is the most severe, even 3/4 of the members of the genius training camp were eliminated, and there is a certain chance that you will die because you will come into contact with a foreign race, but it is not high. There will be one unlucky person in about 10 periods. Quote, will this genius training camp come into contact with foreign races? Su Mu's eyes lit up. Zhang Heliu nodded. Not only can we come into contact with them, but the alien races that the genius training camp comes into contact with are all alien races on the battlefield of all races. He was afraid that Su Mu would not understand and specifically emphasized, the aliens on the battlefield of all races are different from the aliens you usually see at the alien hunting ground in charge of the martial arts hall. After all, the alien hunting ground is close to the rear of the human race, and the aliens inside it come every once in a while. They will also be regularly eliminated by the martial arts school in charge. They have less experience fighting the human race, and they are at the bottom of all races in terms of combat effectiveness and racial category. But the ones that the genius training camp can come into contact with are all the aliens who have actually been on the battlefield of thousands of races. Whether it is combat power or understanding of human beings, they are far stronger than the aliens on the hunting grounds of the aliens. Some aliens are even born with some A-level or even S-level talents will be awakened, and the strength is far beyond your imagination. The principal also said at this time. So, student Su Mu, our school now has a quota that can be reported to participate in the genius training camp. However, Teacher Zhang has already told you about the elimination rate and danger of the genius training camp. Do you want to participate? Which top martial arts training camp to participate in? I hope you can give it some thought to the university's talent training camp. Let's do this. Teacher Zhang and I will be at the school this week. Once you decide, just come to me or Teacher Zhang directly and we will help you fill out the form and submit it. Su Mu showed a look of expectation and said without hesitation, there is no need to consider the principal, I will participate. As for which school, I want to participate in the genius training camp of Longjing Martial Arts University. There's no need to decide so quickly, Su Mu. The genius training camp is going to the battlefield of all races. You'd better discuss it with your family before making a decision, right? Teacher Zhang said, and the Longjing Martial Arts University you chose has the highest elimination rate among all genius training camps. Are you sure you don't want to think about it carefully? Su Mu didn't think about it anymore. He wished he could die a few more times and improve his talents. The higher the difficulty, the easier it is to die, which is more in line with his appetite. Besides, Longjing Martial Arts University is not only a requirement in the diary, but it is also the university where Ji Yu Yanxi attends. She said that she would not think about the love between her children for the time being, but inexplicably, Su Mu couldn't help but feel a little excited when she thought that she could go to the university where Ji Yu Yanxi was studying. Now, Ji Yu Yanxi should still be in her 3rd year of college. Principal, Teacher Zhang, I have already considered going to the genius training camp of Longjing Martial Arts University. I also asked the principal to help me report it. Hearing Su Mu be so determined, the principal and Zhang Heliu stopped trying to persuade Su Mu. The two of them looked at each other. Then the principal walked aside and took out a form from the drawer. Fill out the form and sign it, and then we will help you report it. The opening time of the genius training camp will be in 1 month. You can practice hard during this month. It just so happens that you are now a 1st-level warrior and can officially start practicing martial arts. There are some martial arts skills on the top floor of the school library. You can borrow them at any time if you need them. Finally, as the principal of the school, I sincerely wish you good results in the talent training camp. Su Mu quickly filled out the form, handed it to the principal. I will work hard, principal, and thank the school for giving me this opportunity. The principal took the form and smiled. You deserve this. Who knows, our school will produce a great person in the future. Be careful and pay attention to safety. Zhang Heliu on the side warned. I will, Teacher Zhang. Su Mu nodded. Then something came to mind. By the way, principal, I have something to ask of the school. You said, if I can provide convenience for you, I will do my best to help you. Su Mu said. That's right, principal, you also know that I have now become a first-level martial artist, and it is time to officially start practicing martial arts. However, I feel that simply sparring with people in the martial arts gym will not have a good improvement effect. So I want to go to the alien hunting ground. The alien hunting ground is a place located at the junction of the human race's rear and the battlefield of all races. There are a large number of alien races inside. Some of these alien races were originally here, and some were specially captured and kept in captivity. There are no very powerful beings among these alien races. It is mainly used to hone some human races who are not strong enough to go to the battlefield of 10,000 races, but want to increase their experience in fighting against 10,000 races. The alien hunting ground is divided into many areas, and the many martial arts schools behind the human race are mainly responsible for each area. The martial arts schools in charge of these areas can make a profit by hunting down foreign races and obtaining the materials and blood food from them. They can also rent out quotas to warriors at the rear of the race, allowing them to practice and increase their experience. In order to prevent the aliens in the alien hunting grounds from getting out of control, the martial arts hall will regularly clear out the aliens in the alien hunting grounds. In order to obtain a place in the martial arts hall to enter the alien hunting ground, one condition is that you must be a warrior in the first realm for at least 3 months. However, there is room for maneuver in this condition. Because students from some schools, if their talents are really outstanding, do not need the 3-month requirement after getting a recommendation letter from the school. This is also something Su Mu wants the school to help with. Su Mu quickly told the principal about this matter. The principal didn't think about it for long before he nodded. No problem, you can prepare for the genius training camp, and with the protection of the martial arts school, you will not encounter too much danger in the alien hunting grounds. I will write a letter of recommendation for you right away. About which martial arts Guan, do you have any intention? Fire Martial Arts School. Su Mu did her homework early. The Agni Martial Arts Gym is the one with the largest control over the alien hunting grounds in the 3rd security zone. Of course, the risk is also the highest among all martial arts schools. But what Su Mu is not afraid of the most is danger. Good. The principal quickly got it done for himself. After saying goodbye to the principal, Su Mu left the office with the 180,000 yuan awarded by the school. After leaving, Su Mu returned to the classroom. Only Li Shangdong was left in the classroom, waiting stupidly for Su Mu. Brother Mu, you are finally here. Li Shangdong smiled and greeted Su Mu. Brother Mu, I have prepared a double private room at Blue Sky Internet Cafe. Today we will stay up all night to celebrate that you have entered the first realm of warriors. I have paid all the expenses. Su Mu rolled her eyes at him. Do you think I'm looking for you to go online? Isn't it? Li Shangdong's smile stopped on his face. Su Mu gave him a gentle punch and said, if you stay up all night, you will hurt your energy and blood. The college entrance examination is in 5 months, aren't you in a hurry? Here's Su Mu's words. Li Shangdong also said with a sad face, of course I am anxious, but there is nothing I can do. My awakened talent is just an ordinary E-level talent, and my family is not that rich. It is very important for me to be admitted to a 3rd-level martial arts university. It's already something that takes a long time to work on. Su Mu patted his shoulder understandingly. Then he said, wait for me. He pulled out a notebook from his bag. Start writing and drawing on it quickly. About half an hour passed. Su Mu then closed the notebook. Then he handed it to Li Shangdong. Brother Mu, what is this? It contains a body refining technique, a breathing method and a potion formula. The body refining technique and breathing method should be much better than what you are currently practicing. As for the potion formula, it is called bone strengthening muscle powder, Qi and blood. The improved effect is 3 times that of Bushui powder, but the configuration cost is only 1,000 yuan. Although the body refining techniques and breathing techniques that Su Mu selected for Li Xiongdong were not as good as Su Mu's 10,000 races of body refining techniques and the innate fetal breathing technique, they were still considered to be first-class body refining techniques and breathing techniques. The reason why I didn't write about the 10,000 races body refining technique and the innate fetal breathing technique. It's not that Su Mu is stingy. It's just that the training of 10,000 races body refining technique and the innate fetal breathing technique are extremely difficult. Not to mention the 10,000 races body refining technique that changes in each stage of cultivation, just the innate fetal breath technique. With Li Xiongdong's qualifications, it is estimated that it will take more than half a year to practice it. The reason why Su Mu is able to practice these 2 techniques is entirely because these 2 techniques were specially selected for him by Shen Lan. Moreover, Shen Lan was there to correct his movements, breathing rate, etc. during the entire practice. The physical training and breathing techniques that Su Mu selected for Li Xiongdong were much less difficult to practice. Coupled with the bone strengthening and muscle nourishing powder that Su Mu gave him, at least practicing safely as a warrior in the 3rd realm of the Tao is not a problem at all. Li Xiongdong, who had just taken the notebook from Su Mu, was still thinking about what Su Mu wrote to him. When I heard what Su Mu said, I was almost scared to drop the notebook in my hand. Mu, brother Mu, isn't this too expensive? Li Xiongdong was holding the notebook as if it were a hot potato. Where did you get the physical refining techniques and breathing techniques here? Could it be that you taught them to me privately, right? Brother Mu, this violates the martial law, so I don't want to do it. Su Mu reluctantly put the notebook into his arms. Don't worry, the physical training and breathing techniques mentioned above have never appeared on the market. You can just treat it as my creation. As for the potion formula, you also feel free to use it. It was originally written by me, it's just for your own use, there's no problem if you don't use it to make money. Yes, but this is too expensive, brother Mu, I can't have it. Li Xiongdong frowned, as if he was about to cry with emotion. You're here, take it quickly. Su Mu said, just use it and practice hard. If you don't pass the martial arts university in 5 months, you will be sorry for me. Brother Mu, you are my biological brother. Li Xiongdong hugged Su Mu. Su Mu pushed him away. After packing up all the things, Su Mu is going to take back the things Fang Ling gave her and use them. The body refining technique and the breathing technique are not needed. She can let her mother sell them in the market later. After all, they should not be bound yet. Learn people. After returning home and having dinner, Su Mu did not start practicing physical training immediately. Instead, she returned to the room and started taking out a notebook. Race: Red-tusked rabbit tribe. Vitality value: 10 to 55. Martial arts level 1 to martial arts level 5. Talent part 1 C level: 3 cunning rabbit holes, smart ears. D level: enhanced sense of smell. Habits: living underground in the number 1 forest in the Western Theater of the 10,000 Races battlefield. Weakness: eyes. The damage caused by attacking the eyes will cause the red-tusked rabbit to instantly lose their ability to resist. Race: Cloud Rat Clan. Vitality value: 25 to 80. Warrior level 2 to martial arts level 8. Talent part 1 level B: Crazy Rat Fang. Level C: Instant acceleration. Habits: living in forest number 3, Eastern Theater Zone, 10,000 Races battlefield. Weakness: ears. The ears of the Cloud Rat tribe are generally sensitive. If you use sonic martial arts, it will be miraculous. The blood value, strength range, talents, habits and weaknesses of each race were carefully recorded in Su Mu's notebook. Then he began to recite the contents of the notebook. Although he already has Deep Blue as his universal encyclopedia. But for Su Mu, only what is in her mind truly belongs to her. How do you know what will happen if you lose this talent one day? Might as well take this opportunity to study hard. Moreover, even if the talent will not disappear, in the actual battle, there is no time to listen to the information from all the races and the introduction of the talent. Only by truly learning it in your own mind can you use it better in battle. At the same time, this is also a good way to use the death retracement discovered by Su Mu. After death, his physical improvement will go back to 12 hours ago, so when it is certain that he will die, it is a very unwise choice to practice physical training. But memory doesn't. The knowledge Su Mu learned before the last round of retracement will not disappear. If you make good use of this time to learn some knowledge about all races and talents from Shenlin, Su Mu will have a full 24 hours more study time in a day than others. And with the improvement of mental power, the extra time will become more and more. If things go on like this, there is no telling that with Su Mu's learning, one day he himself will become a moving deep blue. The next step is to learn the talent. After you have studied for 12 hours, you can start practicing the method of contemplation. Su Mu took a long breath. He made the best use of almost every available time. I practiced the concept of gods and demons twice more. Still no success. Su Mu was not discouraged. The practice of contemplation does not happen overnight. If you want to successfully practice the concept of gods and demons, mental strength and luck are indispensable. Not ready to go back again. Su Mu packed up her things, left home and went to the nearby Liehuo martial arts school. After entering the first realm of warriors, in addition to the daily practice of physical training and breathing techniques, the practice of martial arts must also be put on the agenda. The physical exercises and breathing techniques require little movement and can be practiced at home. But if you want to practice martial arts, and you don't have the corresponding weapons or a place at home, it would be more appropriate to go to a nearby martial arts gym. Moreover, Su Mu now has a recommendation letter from the school in her hand, so she can go to the Liehuo Martial Arts Hall to apply for a pass to the exotic beast hunting ground. After arriving at the Liehuo Martial Arts Hall, Su Mu applied for a staff ID card at the Liehuo Martial Arts Hall, and then under the guidance of the staff, she conducted the identification of a first-level martial artist. This kind of recognition of warrior level can be done at the Martial League branch in Daxia, or at a martial arts school recognized by the Martial League. However, in the Martial Arts Hall, the maximum level of warriors below the 4th realm warrior can be determined. Those with higher levels must go to the Martial Alliance branch. After checking the vitality and blood levels, the staff issued a metal badge with one engraved on it to Su Mu. On the back of the badge are written the 4 characters of Da Sha Wu Meng. With this badge, Su Mu is equivalent to becoming a first-level warrior recognized by Daxia. After applying for the badge, Su Mu applied for a pass to the alien hunting ground from the staff of Liehuo Martial Arts Hall. Because of the recommendation letter, it didn't take long to get the pass. After doing all this, Su Mu rented a training room in the martial arts gym. Entering the training room, Su Mu first started a new round of physical training. There is no need to change the breathing method. But the 10,000 races body refining technique practiced by Su Mu requires a more advanced chapter. According to Shenlin, every time a person reaches a higher level, he will practice different chapters of the 10,000 races body refining technique based on his personal body data. In order to allow cultivators to have the top foundation and state in every realm. After reaching the first level warrior, there are only 2 new chapters that Su Mu needs to practice. The Earth Bear Clan chapter and the Patterned Cloud Tiger Clan chapter. The Earth Bear Clan is famous for its strength and defense, and its physique is considered unrivaled at the level of a first-level warrior. The Patterned Cloud Tiger Clan is famous for its strength and speed, and its physique is one of the best among all the clans in the first-level warrior stage. In fact, among all the races, the truly powerful ones are some gods, demons, immortals and ancient races. However, these races, have not experienced the stage of warriors in the first realm. Some may be born as warriors in the 5th realm or 6th realm. Because of this, at this stage, Su Mu cannot practice the physical refining techniques of the chapters they represent. After choosing the physical training technique, Su Mu also quickly started practicing with the breathing method. Drops of sweat fell on the floor of the training room. I don't know how long it took. Su Mu finally collapsed to the ground. Although it is one less chapter than the 10,000 races body refining technique practiced in the martial arts apprentice stage. However, the difficulty of training has increased a lot. Originally, Su Mu thought that with his current physical condition, he could practice it 7 or 8 times. However, by the 3rd time, he collapsed and could no longer stand up. After resting for a while, Su Mu finally stood up again. Fighting back the physical fatigue. Start practicing martial arts. In terms of martial arts choices, Shenlan has already prepared for Su Mu. The martial arts skills selected by Shenlan are the most suitable for Su Mu at the current stage and are also the best martial arts skills he can practice. There are 3 martial arts in total. Martial skills in attack. Blizzard Sword Technique. Gust Wind Sword Technique was created 3 years later by a warrior who called himself Gust Wind Sword Technique. With this Gust Wind Sword Technique, he had almost no opponents before the warriors of the Third Realm. His sword skills were sharp and his speed was extremely fast. There was a fierce sound of wind in the momentum, making each sword move as fast as a sword, and the sound of the wind aroused became stronger and stronger, like a strong wind and huge waves. Martial arts in body movement. Close sword step. Close sword step is a physical martial art created by a human swordsman 5 years later. In close combat, it can carry out continuous movement within a very short distance. There is also a sonic martial skill, the Sword of the Overlapping Waves. Dilang Sword Song is a sonic martial art created by a human sword cultivator 3 years later. During the battle, the collision and vibration of the long swords are deliberately controlled to produce a sword chant, and the enemy is attacked through the sword chant. These 3 martial arts were selected based on Su Mu's own characteristics. He has the SSS level talent of Sword Heart, so it is undoubtedly the best choice for him to practice martial arts related to Kendo. The combination of Gust Wind Sword Technique and Close Sword Step, the extremely fast speed and impressive attack power are enough to become an unstoppable nightmare for every enemy. Ui. As for Dai Lang Sword Song, in addition to causing extra damage to the enemy in normal battles, it will also have miraculous effects when facing some alien races who are afraid of sonic martial arts. 3 martial arts were selected. Su Mu also quickly started practicing. In the training room, the sound of long swords piercing the air could be heard from time to time. After a while, he looked at the devastated training room. Su Mu collapsed to the ground. This kind of damage to the training room falls within the scope of normal damage, and the rent Su Mu paid when renting it included this part of the cost. But the good thing is that he has the SSS level talent of Sword Heart Transparency. It only took Su Mu a few hours to master the 3 martial arts skills of swordsmanship. The next step is to use them in actual combat. But it's already a little too late today. It's not suitable to go to the alien hunting ground. Let's go to the alien hunting ground tomorrow to try out our martial arts skills. After packing her things, Su Mu went home directly. As soon as she got home, the aroma of the food penetrated Su Mu's nose. Elder brother. The happiest person to see Su Mu back was Su Yang. Ever since Su Mu awakened her talent and entered martial arts, meals at home have basically been based on Su Mu's order. When Su Mu is not around, no one in the family can use chopsticks. Every time Su Yang was out of school, looking at the meals, he could only wait painfully for Su Mu to come home. Seeing Su Yang with a helpless look on his face, his mouth was about to drool. Su Mu could only smile helplessly. Then he touched Su Yang's head. Let's eat. Here, let me remind you one last time, even if it is an alien hunting ground, it is not completely safe. If you encounter trouble that you may not be able to solve, you can turn on the call for help mode at any time through your bracelet. If you really die on an alien hunting ground, it will not be a big deal. It's an honorable thing. In addition, we will charge 30% for the aliens obtained from the alien hunting grounds. Early in the morning, Su Mu took a special car arranged by Liehuo Martial Arts Hall and arrived at the area responsible for the alien hunting ground, Liehuo Martial Arts Hall. He made an appointment with Ji Yuqian from Danfang Pharmaceutical Company in the afternoon. The time during the day was just enough to go to the alien battlefield to practice. After the previous person in charge finished talking about some precautions for foreign hunting grounds, he led Su Mu's group to the foreign hunting ground area. The bracelet has a positioning function. If you leave the range of Liehuo Martial Arts School, it will sound an alarm. I believe you all know the rules. Within the scope of our responsibility, Liehuo Martial Arts School, we will provide certain guarantees for your safety. If you encounter in case of danger, our Liehuo Martial Arts School will provide rescue as soon as possible, but if you leave the area that our Liehuo Martial Arts School is responsible for and encounter danger, don't blame our Liehuo Martial Arts School for being irresponsible. After saying that, the person in charge gave everyone bracelets and then let everyone enter the alien hunting ground on their own. The alien hunting ground that the Agni Martial Arts School is responsible for is a huge forest. On this trip, there were more than 10 people who entered the alien hunting grounds together. Basically, they are good teams in 2s and 3s. Only Su Mu is alone. Boy, seeing that you have become a warrior at a young age, your awakened talents and qualifications should be quite good, right? Although the aliens on this alien hunting ground are not as good as those on the battlefield of all races, some of their powers are also quite good. There are even aliens with spiritual talents in the area controlled by the Fire Martial Arts Hall. It's not very safe for you to explore this alien hunting ground alone. Why don't you join our team temporarily so that we can take care of each other? Quote. Seemingly seeing Su Mu alone, an uncle with a beard from a team spoke up. Su Mu shook her head and said, "Thank you for your kindness, uncle, but I still want to try it alone first." Naturally, he had already known about the fact that there would be aliens with spiritual talents in this area, which was why he chose to come to the area in charge of the Liehuo Martial Arts Hall. What he wants is to die. If you join the team, it will be too safe, which is not good. See, Su Mu refused. The bearded uncle smiled awkwardly, but didn't care. On the contrary, a busty woman next to him seemed a little dissatisfied, and said in a strange tone, "Brother, please stop showing kindness, right? If you do, people won't appreciate it, but it's okay, it saves you bringing a bottle of oil." Quote. When she mentioned the word, slut, she deliberately emphasized her tone. Su Mu, who was listening on the sidelines, could only smile helplessly. With his character, he would not care about such words. The bearded uncle glared at the busty woman. However, this kind of behavior makes big-breasted women even more dissatisfied. She pouted and turned to look to the side. Su Mu ignored the busty woman and their side. Instead, he quickly moved towards the forest. The goal of his trip was, on the one hand, to hone his fighting skills by fighting the aliens in the alien hunting ground. On the other hand, it is to see if there are suitable talents available. Especially spiritual talents. However, spiritual talents are relatively rare to begin with, and Su Mu doesn't have high hopes. After entering the forest, the breeze blew through the leaves, making a rustling sound. There is a slight earthy aroma in the air. What surprised Su Mu was that when he was running the innate fetal breath method, it actually runs a bit smoother than usual. Even the qi and blood all over the body were stimulated a lot. Sure enough, the energy in the air behind the human race is obviously incomparable with that on the battlefield of all races. This alien hunting ground is only relatively close to the battlefield of all races, so it has been so improved. If we are really on the battlefield of all races, I am afraid the effect will still be there. It will be better. Su Mu understood the mystery after thinking for a moment. 10,000 years ago, when all races invaded, it occupies the most energetic place on the blue star. Subsequently, although the human race regained some of the land from it, they established the human race's rear area. But the energy in this part of the land that was recaptured is much inferior to the land that was plundered by all races. Su Mu shuttled quickly through the forest. There are also dark blue tips based on my own experience. Some traces of alien races were soon found. This mark should be that of a fanged rat. Su Mu looked at the traces of creatures crawling on the ground and judged. The next moment, the fanged rat introduction interface quickly appeared in front of his eyes. Race: Fanged rat tribe. Vitality value: 100 to 200, early stage for a first-level warrior. Talent Part 1, Level A, biting stones and breaking metal. Habits: living in alien hunting grounds. Weakness: eyes. Su Mu took a general glance at the fanged rat's talent. After discovering that there is nothing suitable for my talent, then he flew directly in the direction of the fang-toothed rat. Soon, he found the traces of the fang-toothed rat. The fanged rat seems to be still fighting another alien. Su Mu recognized the other alien race at a glance as the spotted snake race. The strength of the piebald snake clan and the fanged rat clan is about the same. In terms of talent, there is no talent that Su Mu likes. Looking at the two aliens fighting, Su Mu directly used the close sword step to come to the two aliens. The next moment, the violent wind sword technique hit the two aliens like a violent storm. Although Su Mu is now just a first-level warrior, but the wild wind sword technique he practiced is also an extremely powerful martial skill in itself. In addition, Su Mu has the bonus of 100 times the power of the sword's martial arts due to the clear heart of the sword. The two aliens, whose strength was in the early stage of the first realm, were unable to withstand even a single blow in front of Su Mu's wild wind sword technique. With my current strength, I'm afraid it won't be a big problem facing the aliens at the late stage of the first realm, right? Looking at the two alien corpses in front of him, Su Mu had a simple understanding of his current combat power. I have to say that the talent of Sword Heart Transparency is really too powerful. As long as it is a martial art related to Kendo, he can master it thoroughly in a very short time, and at the same time, he can exert its power 100 times. No wonder the figure at the beginning was so aloof and arrogant, opening his mouth to worship the trash of the pagans. With his strength reaching the 8th level warrior. Then use the talent of Kenshin Tongming. Presumably the combat power has reached a quite terrifying level, right? Su Mu threw the two alien corpses aside. He had to go back anyway, so it was useless to take them now. Give me enough time, I will definitely be able to surpass him. Su Mu's figure quickly disappeared into the forest. At the same time, in another part of the forest. Brother, are we going to die here? PFF'd. Cut off the head of an alien with one knife. Su Mu threw the body aside. Now, no fewer than dozens of aliens have died in his hands. After many battles, Su Mu did feel some different experiences. This kind of experience is completely absent when simply practicing martial arts. It's strange why there is such a strong smell of blood. Take a brisk walk through the woods. Su Mu suddenly smelled an extremely strong smell of blood. He frowned slightly. He quickly ran towards the source of the bloody smell. He probably ran for a few minutes. The scene before my eyes. He suddenly felt a numb scalp. I saw it not far away. Densely packed red-tailed foxes gathered together. The ground was littered with broken limbs. There seemed to be blood splattered on the nearby trees. How so? Su Mu took a rough look and saw that there were at least hundreds of red-tailed foxes in front of her. But it shouldn't be. Once the number of alien races like red-tailed foxes that live in groups exceeds 100, they will become a considerable threat to ordinary warriors. Agni Martial Arts Hall would never let the red-tailed fox develop to this extent. But why did the red-tailed fox in front of him develop to this extent? What made Su Mu feel even more uneasy was stumps and broken arms on the ground. It looks like he died not long ago. Logically speaking, even if a warrior who enters the alien hunting ground encounters a danger that he cannot deal with, as long as he presses the call for help button on his bracelet in time, a protective shield will be formed around him and a distress message will be sent to the Liehuo Martial Arts Hall. The people from the Agni Martial Arts School will also arrive at the location of the person asking for help within 5 minutes. But now, the mutilated corpses of these people on the ground clearly conveyed a message to Su Mu. They didn't even get a chance to press the call button. It was at this time. A voice suddenly interrupted Su Mu's thoughts. Quick, run. Su Mu looked in the direction of the voice. He knew the person who made the sound was the busty woman next to the bearded man who invited him when he first entered the forest. The busty woman at this moment was covered in blood. A large piece of meat had been bitten off the right shoulder. The whole person looked bloody. If it weren't for her extremely easy to recognize figure, Su Mu might not have been able to recognize her immediately. Behind the busty woman were several red-tailed foxes, rushing toward her. She looked like she couldn't escape. The reason why it makes a sound. He probably saw Su Mu's appearance, so he tried his best to warn Su Mu. Drag the oil bottle. Don't be in a daze. Run, run. After running far, press the help button immediately. Run. The busty woman recognized Su Mu. Then he shouted in the direction of Su Mu with a louder voice. Next moment, she was immediately knocked down by the red-tailed fox behind her. Laugh. The sharp teeth of a red-tailed fox suddenly tore off a large piece of meat from her body. A look of anger flashed across Su Mu's face when she saw this scene. Aliens. The long sword shook. The next moment, he rushed in the direction of the busty woman. Storm sword technique. The sword energy was like a violent storm, pouring down on the red-tailed foxes. PFF'd. PFF'd. The powerful force instantly killed several red-tailed foxes. Su Mu looked towards the busty woman. The busty woman seemed to have a breath left at the moment. She looked up and saw that Su Mu actually saved her from those red-tailed foxes. A look of surprise flashed in his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by a look of anxiety. Run. Yes, there is spiritual talent. After saying this, the busty woman finally seemed unable to bear the pain and closed her eyes. And after Su Mu heard what the big-breasted woman said, he was also stunned for a moment. Spiritual talent. Didn't he come to the alien hunting ground area run by Liehuo Martial Arts School this time just to see if he could try his luck to find an alien with spiritual talents? And it was at this time. From behind the group of red-tailed foxes, a sharp sound suddenly came out. Hearing that sharp sound, Su Mu suddenly felt as if her mind had been hit hard by a heavy hammer. The next moment, I felt dizzy. That's what he was able to do in a blink of an eye. Several red-tailed foxes had already attacked him. But fortunately, it seems that because Su Mu has reverted several times after death, her mental power is much stronger than that of ordinary people. The dizziness didn't last long. He saw several red-tailed foxes about to pounce on him. Su Mu swung out her long sword and stabbed it several times quickly in the air. Several red-tailed foxes were instantly killed by Su Mu. Immediately, Su Mu took up her sword step again, dodged a few times and rushed towards the group of red-tailed foxes. Storm sword technique. The wave of sword chance. As the sword light flashed, bright red blood flowed on the ground like a small river. Su Mu killed all the way towards the screaming figure. Along the way, the red-tailed fox rushed towards Su Mu one after another. However, under the airtight sword power of Su Mu's wild wind sword technique, the red-tailed fox that rushed forward could only turn into a dead soul under Su Mu's sword. Soon, Su Mu arrived at the center of the red-tailed fox group. I saw it not far away. A red-tailed fox that was obviously larger than the other red-tailed foxes and had two tails behind it was eating a corpse. When Su Mu saw the corpse, her pupils shrank. That corpse was none other than the bearded uncle who had invited him before. The bearded uncle was completely dead at this moment. Half of his face had been eaten away by the red-tailed fox, and the snow-white bones mixed with blood could be seen. Seeing such a scene, Su Mu couldn't help but feel an inexplicable nausea. He looked at the red-tailed fox with two tails. The red-tailed fox seemed to have discovered Su Mu as well. A trace of human doubt flashed through its dark eyes. But the next moment, he began to roar ferociously at Su Mu. Accompanied by this roar, the surrounding red-tailed foxes rushed towards him quickly. Information about this red-tailed fox also appeared in front of Su Mu's eyes. Race: Red-tailed fox clan. Vitality value: 795. Late stage of first level warrior. Talent: Level A, mental bewitchment. Habits: living in alien hunting grounds. Weakness: neck. Because it is a specific one, the health value and talent have already been determined. Seeing the red-tailed foxes rushing towards him, Su Mu was not afraid at all. He used the Gale Sword technique to push back the surrounding red-tailed fox queen. He rushed straight towards the red-tailed fox with two tails. Seeing Su Mu rushing towards it, the red-tailed fox was also angry. It screamed. Su Mu suddenly felt dizzy. And the next moment, the red-tailed fox also pounced on Su Mu. It is the one who sees it attacking him. Su Mu did not continue to resist. Instead, he directly stretched out his hand to grab the red-tailed fox and prevent it from leaving. The red-tailed fox caught by Su Mu became even more angry and began to bite Su Mu crazily. Su Mu felt severe pain coming from her neck. In front of his eyes, it gradually became dark. Ding, you have been killed by the red-tailed fox. The copy was successful. Congratulations on obtaining the A-level talent, Mental Bewitchment. Chapter 31. A-level talent, Mental Bewitchment. Mental Bewitchment. Using sound waves or gaze, etc., to control certain behaviors of the other party in a short period of time. The length of time of control is related to mental power. Call. Su Mu suddenly sat up from the bed. In my mind, the tragic death of the bearded man and the busty woman seemed still vivid. To be honest, it was the first time for Su Mu to witness such a bloody and horrific scene of alien cannibalism. Calm down a little. Su Mu just started to look at her current character panel. Name: Su Mu. Vitality value: 101.75. Early stage for a first-level warrior. Spiritual power: 11.52. The average value of ordinary people's uncultivated and unawakened spiritual talents is 0.5. Physical refining technique. The body refining technique of 10,000 races, Earth Bear Clan Chapter, Patterned Cloud Tiger Clan Chapter. Breathing method. Innate fetal breathing method. Contemplation method. Contemplation method of gods and demons. Martial skills. Wild wind sword technique, close sword step, overlapping wave sword chant. Talents. X level. Copy after death, SSS level. 12 hours of death rewind, Book of Wisdom, Sword Heart Transparency, a level, Transformation, Spiritual Bewitchment. It seems that after he copied the spiritual talent of the red-tailed fox, his spiritual power has reached a considerable level. So this time, Deep Blue specially added a measurement of mental power value on Su Emu's character panel. Look at his current mental power on the character panel. Su Emu's face showed a hint of joy. The average for ordinary people is about 0.5. Before, because he had to go back several times, he could only reach around 1 at most. But now, because he has awakened an A-level mental talent, his mental power has soared to 11.52. With such mental power, you should be able to try practicing the concept of gods and demons again, right? Without hesitation, Su Mu immediately began to practice the concept of gods and demons. To his surprise, as he expected, this time, the practice of the concept of gods and demons went surprisingly smoothly. In just half an hour, he successfully developed the spiritual power of the Tianyi God clan, and then within a very short period of time, he developed the spiritual power of the Infernal Demon clan. After the spiritual power of the two races is refined, Su Mu began to use these two mental powers to continuously destroy and rebuild her own mental power. Ah, Su Mu couldn't help but let out a muffled groan when her mental power was just a little bit worn away. This kind of mental pain is far more intense than physical pain. It's like holding a knife and cutting off your soul bit by bit. Probably a few hours later, Su Emu's face had turned completely pale. Wait until he opens his eyes again. His eyes were filled with unconcealable exhaustion. And the results are quite gratifying. It's just a practice of contemplating gods and demons. Su Emu's mental power suddenly increased from 11.52 to 31.85. It has improved by about 20 points. Sure enough, the improvement of mental power is much faster than the improvement of qi and blood value. Regarding this point, Su Mu had already made some guesses from the information given by Shen Lan. The methods of cultivating mental strength and vitality are completely different. The cultivation of qi and blood is mainly through the continuous absorption and penetration of energy into the body, and then through the absorption of these energies, the body is continuously strengthened and the qi and blood are improved. To a certain extent, the cultivation of qi and blood value is constantly improving oneself with the help of external forces. Body refining techniques and breathing techniques are just a medium to help one refine external power. The cultivation of spiritual power is completely different. It does not need to rely on the power of the outside world, or it does not mainly rely on the power of the outside world. Looking at the visualization methods of all races, they basically start from their own mental power and visualize something to hone their mental power. Therefore, the cultivation of mental power places high demands on one's own mental power. This is also the reason why spiritual talents can improve mental power. Because the power of talent also comes from yourself. At the moment you awaken, in order to ensure that your talent can be used smoothly, your mental power will be improved with the help of your talent. And also because of the special cultivation method of mental power, as long as one can withstand this kind of pain and continuously hone one's mental power, the speed of improvement of mental power will be several times that of the improvement of qi and blood value. At this rate, I might not be able to say that in a month, my spiritual power will exceed the level of my blood and energy. Su Mu was overjoyed when she came to this conclusion. This is definitely good news for Su Mu. After all, there are some experts who can judge it through some methods when the energy and blood are at a certain level. But for mental power, unless you meet a few people with special talents, as long as you don't use it, it is impossible for ordinary people to see the strength of your mental power. This also means that Su Mu will have an extremely powerful hidden trump card. At critical moments, attacking others with mental power can definitely cause an unexpected fatal blow to them. Su Mu, who successfully practiced the concept of gods and demons, was overjoyed. However, the next step is not the time to let go. After improving mental strength, Su Mu also wants to test how many times she can back off now. When Su Mu opened her eyes again, silently he sat up from the bed. After improving mental strength, with the help of the aliens in the alien hunting ground, he refiled 7 times. A total of 7 talents were copied. And through these 7 setbacks, Su Mu also roughly figured out the number of times she could go back. With the improvement of mental power, Su Mu can now roll back more than 50 times, roughly estimated. Moreover, he found that as the number of consecutive returns increased, more and more mental energy seemed to be consumed. According to Su Mu's current situation, it would be easy for him to continue to go back. However, he did not choose to continue to switch back. On the one hand, he had already exhausted the number of switchbacks. On the other hand, it was also because the talents of the alien races in the area controlled by the Agni Martial Arts Hall were basically all that he could like. Once copied, there is no need to go back. Su Mu's thoughts flashed. His character panel appeared in front of him again. Name: Su Mu. Vitality value: 101.75, early stage for a first-level warrior. Mental strength: 41.52, 4th-level martial artist. Physical refining technique: the body refining technique of 10,000 races, Earth Bear Clan Chapter, Patterned Cloud Tiger Clan Chapter. Breathing method: innate fetal breathing method. Contemplation method: contemplation method of gods and demons. Martial skills: wild wind sword technique, close sword step, overlapping wave sword chant. Talents: X level, copy after death, SSS level, 12 hours of rewind after death, Book of Wisdom, Sword Heart is Clear, A level, Makeover, Spiritual Bewitchment, Eye of True Seeing, Healing Light, Super 5 Senses, Red Flame Bloodline, B level, Mental Strengthening, Wood Control, Wind Control. Retract the panel. A cold light flashed in Su Mu's eyes. That red-tailed fox, it's time to settle the score between us. Boy, seeing that you have become a warrior at a young age, your awakened talents and qualifications should be quite good, right? Although the aliens on this alien hunting ground are not as good as those on the battlefield of all races, some of their powers are also quite good. There are even aliens with spiritual talents in the area that the Fire Martial Arts School is responsible for. It's not very safe for you to explore this alien hunting ground alone. Why don't you join our team temporarily so that we can take care of each other? Quote. Arriving at the entrance of the alien hunting ground, the bearded uncle invited Su Mu again. Looking at the bearded uncle with a kind face. Who would have thought that not long after, this bearded uncle would become the ghost of the two-tailed red-tailed fox? Only by adhering to some things mentioned in the diary and not knowing can they be changed. Su Mu still chose to reject the beard uncle's kindness. This time, although his main purpose was to kill the two-tailed red-tailed fox. But the bearded uncle is quite nice, and the busty woman next to him is not a bad person even though she has a bit of a venomous mouth. If possible, Su Mu still wanted to save these two people from the mouths of those red-tailed foxes. Brother, please don't show random kindness, right? If you do, people won't appreciate it, but it's okay, it saves you bringing a bottle of oil. The big-breasted woman still looks yin and yang weird. Heard the same thing. Su Mu could only shake her head helplessly like last time. After separating from the bearded uncle and the busty woman, Su Mu did not follow the previous route. Instead, while checking the talents she had obtained after 7 turns back, she slowly killed the aliens, heading in the direction where the bearded uncle and the busty woman died tragically the last time she turned back. Move. Su Mu obtained a total of 7 talents when she returned 7 times. Among the 7 talents, 3 are B-level talents and 4 are A-level talents. Among B-level talents, wind control and wood control are relatively common elemental talents. If used well in battle, it can also increase a lot of combat power. Moreover, when performing martial arts, you can choose martial arts that are consistent with this elemental talent, which can often exert great power. There is another talent that is also a spiritual talent. The acquisition of this talent surprised Su Mu. At that time, Su Mu was just trying to use mental bewitchment to seduce a large number of foreign races to try out the power of mental bewitchment. Unexpectedly, among the aliens who were bewitched, there was a spotted snake that was not bewitched by him. Based on its behavior and the judgment of the Book of Wisdom, Su Mu finally concluded that its talent was spiritual strengthening. So he decided to let this spotted snake contribute its talents. In addition to the 3 B-level talents, the 4 A-level talents are Su Mu's biggest gain from this trip. The first is the Eye of True Sight, which can see through talents whose grade does not exceed a level. Previously, the Book of Wisdom in Su Mu's mind also required Su Mu to observe other people's behavior to judge the other person's talent. But now, as long as the opponent's talent level is lower than S level, then Su Mu can directly see through the opponent's talent through the Eye of True Sight. And even if you can't see through the talent, it can still prove that the opponent's talent is at least S level, so there is no need to hesitate too much. When you die, you die. It can be said that this Eye of True Seeing has greatly improved Su Mu's efficiency in copying talents in the future. At the same time, it can predict the enemy's opportunities, which can play a big role in real battles. The second A-level talent is Healing Light. This ability is of little use to Su Mu personally. For Su Mu, who has 2 talents, copying after death and reverting to death, he doesn't even try to copy some defensive talents or practice defensive martial arts. The purpose is to die faster when the time comes. The main reason for copying this healing light is to make it easier to treat others when the time comes. After all, Su Mu can't switch back every time someone dies or is injured. In the future battles with all races, injury and death are inevitable. A talent to heal others will undoubtedly help Su Mu solve many problems. The third A-level talent is Super 5 Senses. The Super 5 Senses can be turned on and off at any time, which can also help Su Mu improve her combat effectiveness in battle. It can also detect things in normal times. The last A-level talent is Red Flame Bloodline. This Red Flame Bloodline can enhance the power of fire-based martial arts by 50%. At the same time, it can also attack others with weapons and red flames attached to various parts of the body that are difficult to remove, unless some special methods are used. There is no way to extinguish the red flames with ordinary water, sand or anything like that. These talents are basically a pretty good batch of talents in the area that Liehuo Martial Arts School is responsible for. Su Mu does not copy talents casually. After all, sometimes there are too many talents, and it is impossible to develop the abilities of certain talents to the extreme. In addition to some of his own ideas, the talents he selected would also follow Shenlin's suggestions. Just as Su Mu was slowly moving towards the place where the bearded uncle died when he last returned. The other side. Brother, are we going to die here? At this moment, the bearded uncle was back to back with the busty woman. Surrounding them was a circle of red-tailed foxes staring at them eagerly. In the center of this group of red-tailed foxes, there is a red-tailed fox with 2 tails. At the feet of the red-tailed fox were 2 bracelets. The bearded uncle looked at the bracelet at the feet of the 2-tailed red-tailed fox and gritted his teeth. They were originally hunting in this alien hunting ground, thinking of killing more alien corpses in exchange for money. I was quite happy when I saw the red-tailed fox, because the fur of the red-tailed fox can be sold for a lot of money. But as they chased after the red-tailed fox, they unexpectedly found themselves surrounded by red-tailed foxes. After finding himself surrounded, the 2 were planning to press the distress button on their bracelets. But at this moment, a sharp voice came. After that voice sounded, they fell into a brief trance. It was only after a few red-tailed foxes attacked them that they recovered from that state. But after recovering, they were horrified to find that their bracelets had been thrown at the feet of the 2-tailed red-tailed fox. Now even if they wanted to press the distress button, there was nothing they could do. Facing the densely packed red-tailed foxes whose strength ranges from the early stage of a first-level warrior to the late stage of a first-level warrior, the bearded uncle only felt his scalp numb. His strength is only that of a late-stage warrior in the first realm. He can handle a few red-tailed foxes, but such a large group of red-tailed foxes. What's more, he has to protect his sister behind him. Could it be that we are really going to die here today? A look of despair flashed across the bearded uncle's face. Gao Jing, I will help you break out later, and you take the opportunity to run out. Elder brother, I heard the bearded uncle say this. The busty woman suddenly felt her nose sore. If you encounter someone, tell them to run away and press the distress button as soon as possible. The bearded uncle ordered. That beast must have awakened a spiritual talent. It is precisely because of this talent that he led so many red-tailed foxes to survive the eradication of the Liehuo martial arts hall. If these red-tailed foxes are allowed to continue to develop, there is no telling when it will harm the human race's rear, so we must find a way to get the news out. Hear what the bearded uncle said. The busty woman seemed to have thought about the consequences of the development of these red-tailed foxes. She wiped her tears. I know, brother. Prepare. The bearded uncle shouted, but just at this time, they suddenly heard a sword roar in the distance. They looked in the direction of the sword chant. Not far away, behind the red-tailed foxes, it seemed as if a tiger had rushed into the herd. The heads of red-tailed foxes soared into the sky. Brother, what happened there? When the bearded uncle heard this, a flash of red light flashed in his eyes, and the next moment, a look of surprise appeared on his face. That's a person. Just as the two were discussing the original circle formed by red-tailed foxes, a hole has actually been broken through. At this time, only then did the bearded uncle and the busty woman beside him see the person clearly. I saw Su Mu wearing an ordinary armor issued by the Fire Martial Arts Hall, holding a long sword that had been cut to some sharp edges. The blood-burning armor looked as if it had been burned by fire in the sunlight. Su Mu, like a god of war descending from the sky, appeared in front of the bearded man and the busty woman. Little brother. When the bearded uncle saw Su Mu, he immediately recognized him as the lone little brother he met at the entrance. The busty woman on the side obviously recognized Su Mu. When Su Mu saw such a powerful attack, her mouth couldn't help but open wide, looking at the scene in front of her in disbelief. Are you okay? Su Mu glanced at the two of them. Although the two of them had some minor wounds, they were generally fine. No, it's okay. The bearded uncle obviously hadn't recovered from the shock. Su Mu paid no attention to him. After confirming that the two of them are not in danger, Su Mu set her sights on the two-tailed red-tailed fox not far away that was protected by several red-tailed foxes. Got you. After seeing the two-tailed red-tailed fox, a cold light flashed in Su Mu's eyes. Next moment, his figure flashed. Sword step so close. In just a moment, Su Mu had already arrived not far in front of the two-tailed red-tailed fox. The two-tailed red-tailed fox actually rushed in its direction when it saw Su Mu, the god of killing. There was a clear trace of panic in his eyes. It screamed. Su Mu could clearly feel that there was some mental fluctuation in this scream. Apparently this is how this two-tailed red-tailed fox attacks. The previous Su Mu might be briefly dazed when faced with such an attack. But now, Su Mu not only has the same mental bewitching talent as this two-tailed red-tailed fox, but also has a mental strengthening talent. Adertisement. He also practiced the concept of gods and demons. His mental strength has reached the 4th level of martial arts. The attack of the two-tailed red-tailed fox was like scratching an itch for him. You have a small skill, but you still dare to do the same thing. Su Mu sneered. His fingers flicked on the long sword in his hand. Ding! A strange wave spread from the long sword toward the two-tailed red-tailed fox and the surrounding red-tailed foxes. Ding! Ding! The sword chants were like layers of waves, one after another. This is also a good way to use spiritual bewitchment discovered by Su Mu. Mental bewitchment is nothing more than using talent to spread powerful mental power to temporarily control the opponent. And Su Mu's overlapping sword yin, by superimposing waves of sword chants like waves, can completely spread the spiritual power to the greatest extent. The red-tailed foxes around him didn't even react. Su Mu had already appeared in front of them. Storm sword technique. Just like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. Several red-tailed foxes didn't even wake up from Su Mu's mental spell. It has turned into a pile of fragmented remains. The same goes for the two-tailed red-tailed fox. When Su Mu rushed in front of it, it let out a scream of fear, and the next moment, its forehead was severely pierced by Su Mu's sword. PFF'd. The long sword carried the momentum of a violent storm and pierced the forehead of the two-tailed red-tailed fox almost without any hindrance. The twin-tailed red-tailed fox was still alive 1 second, but the light in its eyes gradually dimmed the next moment. The two-tailed red-tailed fox is dead. And that's when the two-tailed red-tailed fox died. The red-tailed foxes around them seemed to have suddenly lost their backbone. The circle that originally surrounded Su Mu and the three people suddenly dispersed. Su Mu casually dealt with a few more red-tailed foxes. Only then did he arrive in front of the bearded uncle and the busty woman. I'm afraid you are not suitable to stay here in your current state. I will send you out. Looking at the two people standing in front of her alive now, Su Mu felt quite a sense of accomplishment. He is not the kind of saint who sacrifices himself to save others, but if he has enough energy to save his compatriots from aliens or bad people, he is willing to do it. Fang, is it convenient? The bearded uncle looked at Su Mu in disbelief. He really couldn't believe it, a young man who didn't even look 20 years old. The strength is actually so terrifying. That two-tailed red-tailed fox was at least as strong as a late-stage beast. There are so many red-tailed foxes around, but in front of this young man, they are like chickens and dogs. It collapsed with one blow. How strong is this young man? Or, what kind of powerful talent has been awakened? The bearded uncle didn't ask any further questions. In the back of the human race, things like talent were generally kept secret by individuals. Even some high school students who had just awakened their talent would be told by their teachers not to tell even their closest relatives about their talent. So the bearded uncle naturally asked without offense. He just looked at Su Mu gratefully. Little brother, thank you so much this time. If it weren't for you, my sister and I would have died here. You are simply he is the savior of both of us. As he spoke, he pulled the busty woman next to him. Gao Jing, come and say thank you to the savior. At this moment, the big-breasted woman looked at Su Mu in front of her with a hot face. She remembered that she had said before that she was a dragster. But now it seems that I am more like a dragster. This feeling of being slapped in the face not long after, made her face feel a little hot, and she did not dare to face Su Mu in front of her. I just held it in for a long time before I could say anything. Thank you, thank you. Su Mu smiled nonchalantly. We are all fellow human beings. I believe that even if others encounter this kind of thing, they will lend a helping hand. Who would have thought that there would be a cow who has awakened his spiritual talent here? Fox, we have secretly gathered so many of our own kind, but fortunately, you'll be fine. Let's go. I'm about to go back. I'll take you back on the way. It looks like your bracelets are broken. It's not safe to stay here any longer. Under the leadership of Su Mu, the brother and sister finally returned to the entrance safely. Along the way, Su Mu finally learned their names and some basic information. The bearded uncle's name is Gao Shan. He is a veteran who has returned from serving on the battlefields of the heavens. He usually hunts some aliens on the alien hunting ground and uses their corpses in exchange for money. The big-breasted woman's name is Gao Jing. She just graduated from the martial arts university. Her intention is to return to the third safe zone to join the team of night walkers. However, she has not passed the assessment standards of night walkers yet, so she can only follow Gao Shan in the alien hunting ground. Make money by hunting aliens. Brother Su Mu, thank you so much this time. In the future, as long as you have any use for me, I will definitely help you, even if it means going up a mountain of swords or a sea of fire. Gao Shan patted his chest and said. Gao Jing on the side rarely interrupted. Immediately, Gao Shan seemed to have thought of something. After groping around for a while, he finally took out a small box from his arms. Brother Su Mu, I don't have anything valuable on me. This is the tiger blood pill I auctioned in the market some time ago. You must not dislike it. Quote. With that said, regardless of whether Su Mu agreed or not, he directly stuffed the tiger blood pill into Su Mu's arms. Brother Gao, this is too expensive. Su Mu wanted to refuse. He also knew that this tiger blood pill was made from the blood essence of a foreign race called the striped tiger. The effect of replenishing qi in blood is more than 10 times that of bushwei powder. It is also quite precious among qi and blood medicines. One costs 100,000 yuan. Judging from the way Gao Shan and Gao Jing are dressed, they don't seem to be particularly wealthy. This 100,000 yuan tiger blood pill is probably the most valuable thing on Gao Shan's body, and he even has to keep it close to his body. Just when Su Mu wanted to refuse. But Gao Shan said, it's so expensive. How valuable is my life and my sister's life? Little brother Su Mu, you saved my life and my sister's life. Compared with your kindness to the two of us, this is nothing. It doesn't matter, if you don't accept it, we, brother and sister, will feel really sorry. Gao Jing also nodded in agreement. You, just accept it. Seeing this, Su Mu no longer refused. However, I made some arrangements in advance. Now that I have taken this tiger blood pill, I will not want the money from selling the red-tailed fox carcasses later. Su Mu thought Gao Shan was a pretty good person, and didn't want the two siblings to suffer too much. If you don't agree, Brother Gao, then I really can't accept this tiger blood pill. The carcasses of those red-tailed foxes, plus the two-tailed red-tailed fox, left over 70,000 to 80,000 yuan after deducting the handling fee. This amount of money is optional for the current Su Mu, but it is definitely a huge sum of money for the Gaoshan brothers and sisters. Su Mu's behavior made Gao Shan's eyes flash with gratitude. He wanted to say something more, but Su Mu waved her hand. Leave quickly. When did our third safety zone produce such an outstanding talent? Looking at Su Mu's retreating figure, Gao Shan couldn't help but sigh. He is only 18 years old, and he has not even awakened his talent for 2 months. 18 years old. Real brother. But, don't you need at least a first-level warrior to enter the alien hunting ground? He has the strength of a first-level warrior less than 2 months after awakening. It's not wrong. You also know that my talent can clearly see some details that others can't see. I can be sure that Su Mu is 18 years old. He has just awakened his talent and will never enter martial arts at the same time. More than 2 months. This is too evil, isn't it? Not only that, he also has strength that far exceeds that of a late-stage warrior in the first realm. Such talent is really too terrifying. Gao Jing, we will rot in our stomachs about this matter. If such a person is worshipped by the aliens behind the human race, if the cultists find out, they will definitely get rid of him quickly, but if he is allowed to enter the martial arts university, I am afraid no one will be able to suppress his growth. Quote. Gao Jing's eyes were full of shock. What were you doing when you were 18? Are you still thinking hard about how to break through to the first level of martial arts? They are the same people, why is the gap so big? For some reason, Gao Jing suddenly remembered that she had actually called her a dragster. She couldn't help but blush with shame. Who is the dragster? At the same time, Su Mu sighed. After putting the tiger blood pill into the backpack, he quickly returned home, after changing a set of clothes. Then he rushed towards the place he had made an appointment with Ji Yuqian, the prescription authorization negotiator of Danfang Pharmaceutical Company. When Su Mu arrived at the place they agreed on, Ji Yuqian has already arrived. What surprised Su Mu was, Ji Yuqian doesn't look much older than Su Mu. With a ponytail, she looks youthful and lively. When Ji Yuqian saw Su Mu, she was obviously very surprised. Are you, Mr. Savior? After seeing Su Mu sit down, Ji Yuqian couldn't help but ask. Su Mu nodded. Are you surprised? Ji Yuqian did not deny. Indeed, I didn't expect that the person who can create a formula like bone strengthening and muscle nourishing powder is actually such a young, high school student. On weekdays, I like to study some recipes and stuff by myself. Regarding this point, Su Mu briefly talked about it. Let's officially start discussing some details. Su Mu didn't talk too much and started to introduce some effects of bone strengthening and muscle nourishing powder to Ji Yuqian. According to your introduction, it is basically consistent with the values detected by our company, so the quotation I can give you on behalf of the company is about 4.5 million. Take a look, are you satisfied? If you are, we can immediately sign the contract, and then I will trouble Mr. Savior to remove the formula from the forum. 4.5 million yuan. Miss Ji Yu, what if I hope to cooperate with your company for a long time? Regarding this negotiation, Su Mu has already made preparations. I also have a pharmaceutical formula that is better than Zhuangguangmusan, and this prescription has not been published on the researcher forum. In other words, your company can completely purchase the right to publish this pharmaceutical formula, or even you can declare to the outside world that this pharmaceutical formula was independently developed by your company. Whether it's improving your company's researcher level or improving your company's reputation, it will definitely have a big effect. With that said, Su Mu put a piece of paper in front of Ji Yuqian. I hope your company will not make some unwise moves. Although I haven't published this prescription yet, the draft has been reserved on the forum. In the draft box, I saw the paper handed over by Su Mu. Ji Yuqian was stunned for a moment. Then he said, Mr. Savior, can I take a photo of this formula and send it to our company's professionals for appraisal? Please. Su Mu nodded. Then he hugged his chest and looked out the window. If nothing else goes wrong, with this formula and the formula of strengthening bone and muscle powder, he might be able to achieve wealth and freedom directly this time. Soon, Ji Yuqian received a reply from the appraiser of their company. The content of the reply obviously surprised her. It wasn't until she sat down that her expression slowly calmed down. Mr. Savior, our company's professionals have completed the appraisal. Your pharmaceutical formula is of high value. Ji Yuqian bit her lower lip and said, I really didn't expect that you, a high school student, could actually prepare such a high-value pharmaceutical formula. Well, as long as you are willing to sell this pharmaceutical formula to our company can sell it to you. The price of the pharmaceutical formula of Zhuanggu Yangmusin has been raised to 5 million. This is just the licensing price for the pharmaceutical formula of Zhuanggu Yangxi powder, and it will not be involved in the purchase price of your new pharmaceutical formula. You can rest assured about this. As you said, we also hope to cooperate with you for a long time. Quote. Su Mu nodded. This was similar to the price he negotiated from Shenlin. As for the purchase price of your new pharmaceutical formula, we can continue to talk. Mr. Savior, do you have any conditions here? Ji Yuqian's attitude towards Su Mu is very different from the beginning. At first, he might have just thought he was an ordinary high school student who happened to come up with a potion formula. But now, judging from the information sent back by professionals from the company, the value of Su Mu's second potion combination has far exceeded that of the first one. I have a few conditions. First, I can sell you the pharmaceutical formula, but in terms of price, I want 20 million plus a 40% profit share. Here's Su Mu's words. Ji Yuqian frowned slightly. However, he did not interrupt, but waited for Su Mu to continue. Su Mu glanced at Ji Yuqian approvingly. He continued. Second, in exchange, I will provide you with a pharmaceutical formula every year that is no less valuable than the pharmaceutical formula just now. However, the profit share for each new formula will remain unchanged, but the purchase price needs to be negotiated separately. Quote. Third, I hope to have a special channel through which I can purchase medicinal materials from your company. The purchase price will be at least 50% cheaper than on the market. Quote. The conditions for hearing what Su Mu said. Ji Yuqian hesitated for a while. Kai Dao, to be honest, Mr. Savior, the price is a bit high. According to your conditions, the highest price we can offer here is 15 million, plus 30% profit. This is still considering that you, Mr. Savior, want to cooperate with us in the future. If you fail to provide us with a pharmaceutical formula that is equivalent to the value of this pharmaceutical formula, we have the right to cancel your subsequent profit sharing. As for the other two, there is no problem on our side. Hearing Ji Yuqian's answer, Su Mu nodded. These conditions of his are basically based on certain information obtained through Deep Blue. As for the price, he intentionally raised it a little too high. His original mental price was 10 million plus 20% profit. But he didn't expect that the price offered by Danfeng Pharmaceutical Company was actually higher than his psychological price. Okay, let's sign the contract. Without too much hesitation, Su Mu made the reservation directly. And Ji Yuqian obviously had no intention of shirk. He quickly took out 4 contracts from the bag, modified them, and handed them to Su Mu. 2 were contracts to purchase the authorized formula for the bone strengthening and muscle building elixir. The other 2 are purchase contracts for this new pharmaceutical formula. By the way, Mr. Savior, because you have sold all the rights to our company, we may have to sign an additional confidentiality agreement. You just said that our company may need to declare to the outside world that this is our company's research and development of. Ji Yuqian took out 2 more confidentiality agreements from her bag. Su Mu actually likes this. If this kind of potion formula is continuously developed and released by individuals, it will sooner or later attract the attention of some interested people. Before having sufficient strength, Su Mu does not want to expose herself to the sight of those people so quickly. But if it is released by the company, the meaning is completely different. No problem. Su Mu quickly signed the contract and confidentiality agreement. Then, I wish us a happy cooperation. Ji Yuqian stood up and extended her hand to Su Mu. At this time, she had time to carefully look at the young man in front of her. He looks young, has a delicate appearance and a stable temperament. It was hard to imagine that a young man who looked like a high school student could casually take out two pretty good potion formulas, and it seemed that these were not all of his inventory. In his hand, there are at least several potion formulas that are not inferior to the one just now. It is truly extraordinary to be able to achieve such an achievement at such a young age. Thinking of my unsatisfactory younger brother, I then looked at the young man in front of me. Ji Yuqian felt like she had the urge to rush home and give her unsatisfactory brother a good beating. A pleasure to work with. Su Mu nodded towards Ji Yuqian. Immediately, he turned around and left. Not long after he left, a payment message from Danfeng Pharmaceutical Company was sent to his mobile phone. After deducting some transaction fees, Su Mu received a total of about 18 million. 18 million. I'm afraid Su Mu's parents may have never seen so much money in their lives. Moreover, there is also subsequent profit sharing. By then, it will be easy for Su Mu to earn tens of millions a year. And Su Mu can no longer focus on making money for a long time. 18 million, even after buying a house, there is still a lot left over. Think of this. Su Mu did not go home directly. Instead, he went straight to a nearby sales office. After a while, Su Mu came out of the sales office. A satisfied smile appeared on his face. Just now, he spent 15 million to buy a large villa in the center of the third security zone. Next, just bring the whole family into the villa. Back home. Brother, you are finally back. Every time he goes home, Su Yong is always the most excited. Su Mu's parents started to get busy in the kitchen. Mom and Dad, don't be busy now, I have a few things to announce. Hear Su Mu's words. Lu Yufan and Su Dashan just walked out of the kitchen. What's wrong, son, are you short of money? Mom will get it for you. When Lu Yufan heard that Su Mu had something going on, her first reaction was that Su Mu didn't have enough money. Su Mu, on the other hand, said with a bit of laughter and tears, "No, Mom, you guys come here first, I have something to tell you." Wait until parents and Su Yong are done neatly. Su Mu then said, "Mom and Dad, I bought a villa in the center of the third security zone." What? As soon as Su Mu's words came out, all three people in the family had expressions of disbelief on their faces. Su Mu looked at the expressions of the three people. An inexplicable sense of accomplishment surged into my heart. He took out the real estate certificate and house purchase contract from his school bag and handed them to the three of them. The three people immediately started to spread the word. 15 million. Son, how did you get so much money? Su Dashan stared. Son, although we are poor, we can't do some things. Lu Yufan rolled her eyes at Su Dashan. What do you think of your son? Son, how could he do bad things? But son, how did you get the 15 million? Tell your parents, otherwise my parents are worried. Su Mu said. Dad, Mom, don't worry, this 15 million is the money I got from selling the prescription. Afraid that they wouldn't believe it, Su Mu even took out the contract from her bag. After reading the contract, the three finally believed Su Mu's words. Brother, you are so awesome. Does that mean we can live in a big villa in the future? Su Yong didn't understand those things, he only knew that he might not be able to have a big room of his own in the future. Su Mu smiled and touched this guy's head and said, "Of course, it's not just you. There are many rooms in that big villa. Not only can you have a separate big room, but I will also get you a game room later, but the premise is that you must improve your grades." When Su Yong heard this, he almost jumped up with joy. Brother, I love you so much. I will definitely study hard. Lu Yufan saw this and joked, "You know how to pamper your brother." My brother, I don't favor anyone. Besides, I think this kid can do it if he works hard. Su Mu smiled and said, "Besides, parents, I will give you some money later, so you don't have to work so hard. You can just stay at home and enjoy yourself, and just take care of Su Yong. Then it's not too hard for you." Su Dashan said. Lu Yufan also looked at Su Mu with some distress. I'm really sorry for you. Mom and Dad, what are you talking about? Why have I worked so hard? The money I make is actually quite easy. I just sell a few medicine formulas and so on. But you, please don't do those hard and painful things again. It's a tiring job, and I won't say anything else. If you get injured or something, the money spent on medical treatment will be more than the money you make from working, so you might as well enjoy the happiness at home. Su Mu said, then paused. Besides, I have now become a first-level warrior. Your next task is to train Su Yang well. Originally, Su's father and Su's mother were still immersed in the surprise that Su Mu bought a large villa. Su Mu's words immediately made the two people's hearts skip a beat. More, what did you just say? Su Dashan looked at Su Mu in disbelief. Lu Yufan also looked at Su Mu, as if she wanted to confirm the answer from Su Mu again. Su Mu could only say again, the second thing I want to say is this. I said that I have stepped into the first realm of warriors. First-level warrior. Su's father and Su's mother really couldn't sit still now. The surprise of the big villa just now made them happy that Su Mu has grown up and can share the burden for the family. But now, Su Mu said that she has stepped into the first realm of warrior. This was a real surprise for them. Is there anything that makes parents more excited and happy than seeing their children succeed? That's great, that's great. My Su family is like smoke rising from the graves of our ancestors. Su Dashan walked around excitedly. Lu Yufan on the side was not as excited as Su Dashan, but also quite happy. Okay. Brother, you are so awesome. Although Su Yang is not very sensible, he also knows the value of a first-level warrior. In his impression, first-level warriors are very powerful people. Now, his brother has actually become a first-level warrior. He had already thought about how to brag with his friends when he went back to school. Mom and Dad, there is one more thing. Next month, I may go to Longjing Martial Arts University's talent training camp. If I can achieve excellent results in the talent training camp, I will not need to take the college entrance examination and be recommended to Longjing Martial Arts University. Longjing Martial Arts University, Genius Training Camp, recommended. Each word made Su Dashan and Lu Yufan unable to react. All I could say was good. After a moment, Lu Yufan came to her senses and asked with some worry, more, is there any danger in this genius training camp? Su Mu smiled when he heard this. Don't worry, Mom, those who enter this genius training camp are all geniuses from various safe zones. Naturally, they will protect everyone. There will be no danger. The worst is to come back and take the college entrance examination again. Delayed. After hearing Su Mu's words, Father Su and Mother Su looked at each other and finally felt relieved. Seeing that the two of them had no suspicion, Su Mu also breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, he was not completely lying. Although there is a slight mortality rate in the genius training camp, for a person like him who is basically immune to death, the risk is indeed equivalent to zero. Okay, Dad, Mom, have a good meal, let's pack up the things at home and prepare to move to the new home. I have already made an appointment with the moving company. Good. The family began to eat happily. A month passed quietly. In the underground training room of a villa, drops of sweat fell on the ground. Su Mu is standing on the ground in an extremely weird posture. After a while, he collapsed and lay on the bed. Before his eyes, the light blue interface gradually emerged. Name, Su Mu. Vitality value, 295.75, early stage for a first-level warrior. Mental power, 365.58, middle stage of first-level warrior. Duplicate content will not be displayed. After a month of practice, Su Mu's health value has soared to 295.75, which is not far away from the middle stage of a first-level warrior. What surprised him even more was his mental power. Now Su Mu's mental power has reached 365.58. Such mental strength is enough to support him to backtrack hundreds of times in a row. In other words, now he can even continuously go back to the time before awakening his talent. I don't know if it's because of the increased number of retracements. Nowadays, Su Mu's feeling about death has become less and less. Life and death seemed a little dull in front of him. In addition to the improvement in vitality and mental strength, Su Mu has also improved a lot in martial arts. The most obvious one is about the use of the storm sword technique. In this month, Su Mu not only completely mastered the violent wind sword technique, but also gained a hint of the violent wind sword intention from it. Having understood the meaning of the violent wind sword, the power of the violent wind sword technique is several times that of before. Nowadays, Su Mu can fight even a second-level warrior. Lie down on the ground for a while. Su Mu stood up. He did not return to the lobby on the first floor. Instead, he came to a lounge next to the training room. After groping around in the lounge, I pressed a tile. A wall in the lounge suddenly opened. After walking through the door, inside is a secret room measuring dozens of square meters. In the center of the secret room, there is a safe. Su Mu entered the password to open the safe. What was placed inside the safe was Su Mu's diary. I wonder if I can turn to the next page after I get the admission spot to Longjing Martial Arts University. Su Mu still hasn't figured out how her future self placed restrictions on this diary. But since your future self can even change your talents, it shouldn't be too difficult to set limits. The conditions for opening the next page given in the diary indeed made Su Mu feel quite curious. At present, the unsolved answers he can get from the diary are mainly about Ningyi mentioned on the first page. There is also the man from all races who caused Chen Bin to rebel against the human race. What are the identities of these two people, and what impact will they have on the future demise of the human race? This has always been something Su Mu has been thinking about. The answers to these questions, given his own personality, would definitely be written at the back of the diary. Unfortunately, he needs to be admitted to Longjing Martial Arts University to unlock the restrictions on the next page. What exactly is on the next page? Su Mu doesn't know. But according to his guess, it must be related to Longjing Martial Arts University. Shaked his head, Su Mu put the diary back into the safe. Although the diary cannot be opened by anyone except him. But putting it in a secret place is always good. After leaving the secret room in the lounge, Su Mu returned to the lobby on the first floor. This time happens to be dinner time. The whole family gathered in the living room waiting for Su Mu to eat. "Brother, you are finally out." Su Yong was happiest when he saw Su Mu appear. "Quickly turn off the TV." Lu Yufan and Su Dashan began to work in the kitchen. Ever since the family moved into the big villa, Lu Yufan and Su Dashan lived a pure life for half a month at Su Mu's request. But soon, the two of them felt bored again. Lu Yufan was okay. She usually went shopping for groceries and chatted with the aunties and uncles at the market. But Su Dashan felt a little uncomfortable. "Maybe it's because I have nothing to do all day." Su Mu couldn't bear it anymore, so she asked Ji Yuqian to arrange a leisurely job for Su Dashan. Based on his current cooperative relationship with Danfang Pharmaceutical Company, it couldn't be easier to do. On the table, Su Mu eats chunks of meat from various foreign races. Since becoming rich, there is no shortage of foreign flesh and blood in the family. Even this kid Su Yong has gained a lot of weight. "Dad, Mom, tomorrow I will take the high-speed train to the 9th Security Zone to attend the Genius Training Camp. Be careful on the road, more." Su's father and mother are obviously still worried about Su Mu's safety. Su Mu waved her hand. "Don't worry, you might be a freshman at Longjing Martial Arts University when I come back. Brother, if you are admitted to Longjing Martial Arts University, remember to take me to your school cafeteria to eat delicious food." Su Yong waved the chopsticks in his hand. Su Mu said, Okay, just wait for my good news at home." A dinner that ends quickly. When the first ray of sunshine falls on the earth, Su Mu had already taken the high-speed train to the 9th safety zone. Su Mu bought a second-class seat. Maybe it's because he comes from an ordinary family, so even if he has money now, there are places where Su Mu should spend money and save money. After placing your luggage on the rack on your seat, Su Mu began to practice the concept of gods and demons and the innate fetal breath method with her eyes closed. "But it hasn't been long since I started practicing." A slightly loud voice came from beside him. "Little girl, you are also going to the 9th Security Zone to attend a cram school." "What a coincidence, my son and I are also going to the 9th Security Zone to attend a cram school." The cram school my son attended was organized by a group of top students from Qingmen Budo University. It was difficult to get into. Not only did you have to pay 300,000 a month, but there were also requirements for the qualifications of the participants. Fortunately, my son I have reached the 3rd level of martial arts, so I was noticed by the person in charge of the cram school and gave us a discount. Little girl, where is the cram school you attended? When we get to the 9th security zone, you can make an appointment with my son to hang out. My son is quite shy. I'll introduce you to each other later. Su Mu opened her eyes and looked. I saw a beautiful girl wearing a floral skirt sitting next to him. Next to the beautiful girl, sat an aunt who looked to be in her 40s or 50s. Facing the aunt's words, the beautiful girl could only smile awkwardly, and then responded perfunctorily. Obviously, the aunt's son and the beautiful girl went to the 9th safe zone to attend cram school. This is a very common thing on the eve of the college entrance examination. Especially in a place like the 9th security zone, where top martial arts universities gather. Students from some top martial arts universities or a certain martial arts university often run cram schools in their spare time. Earn some living expenses by teaching some students taking the college entrance examination. Martial arts is the most expensive journey, and not everyone is like Su Mu who can easily come up with sky-high price prescriptions. And the school turns a blind eye to this kind of thing. After all, this kind of cram school can indeed teach others some experience, and some can also help the school recruit and book some qualified students in advance. It is of great benefit to schools, students and people who attend cram schools. However, the quality of tutoring classes held by students in different schools also varies. Tsingwan Martial Arts University is also considered one of the top martial arts universities in Daxia. Although it ranks at the bottom, it is still a top martial arts university after all. The cram schools held by students there are naturally better than those held by ordinary martial arts university students. A bit more powerful. No wonder this aunt couldn't help but show off. It seemed that he noticed Su Mu's gaze. The beautiful girl glanced in Su Mu's direction. Just in time to meet Su Mu's eyes. I could see the helplessness in the girl's eyes. Su Mu shrugged helplessly. The girl wrinkled her nose at him playfully. And Su Mu's awakening seemed to have attracted Auntie's attention. Young man, are you going to the 9th security zone too? Ah, seeing that the aunt suddenly turned the topic to him. Su Mu was obviously stunned. Now it was the turn of the beautiful girl next to him to cover her mouth and chuckle. Ah, yeah, Su Mu smiled awkwardly. What a coincidence. Auntie's eyes were shining a little. Young man, what are you going to do? Are you also going to a cram school? What cram school did you sign up for? Auntie's series of questions made Su Mu pinch the bridge of her nose with a headache. Suddenly I regretted why I didn't sit in the business seat. Well, I'm not going to a cram school, I'm going to a talent training camp. When she heard about the genius training camp, Auntie had a puzzled expression on her face. On the contrary, the beautiful girl next to him was a little surprised. What is a genius training camp? The aunt asked with some confusion. Why haven't I heard of it? It's normal that Auntie has never heard of it. If you haven't reached a certain level of some information, you have no way of knowing it. It's probably a place similar to a cram school. Su Mu explained helplessly. I was worried that this aunt would continue to ask questions endlessly. Fortunately, at this time, the aunt's cell phone suddenly rang. Son, stay in the business class and don't move. Mom will come find you right away. It was probably a call from her son. The aunt immediately stood up and moved towards the car in front. Seeing that the aunt was gone, Su Mu breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, the beautiful girl next to her spoke. Genius training camp is different from cram school. Su Mu sighed after hearing this. The more you talk, the more trouble you get. Don't look back and ask questions again. Ha 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 ha. The beautiful girl covered her mouth and smiled. That makes sense. She stretched out a snow-white and delicate hand towards Su Mu. I didn't expect to meet a genius who participated in the genius training camp. Hello, my name is Zhao Mang, from the 3rd Security Zone, Wangding High School. Hello, Su Mu, also from the 3rd Security Zone, Bailan High School. Wangding High School is quite famous in the 3rd Security Zone. Those who can afford to go to Wangding High School are either extremely talented or have rich families. Su Mu's neighbor sister, Ji Yu Yanxi, is from Wangding High School. After introducing each other, the two chatted briefly. Then he stopped talking. Su Mu immediately began to practice the concept of gods and demons and the innate fetal breath method with her eyes closed. Probably more than an hour passed. The high-speed train finally arrived. Fortunately, this period of time later, the aunt seems to be taking care of her son. Never returned to his place. It was only when I was about to leave the station that I brought a young man who looked about the same age as Su-mu to my seat to pick up my luggage. The young man looked a little listless. He followed Auntie with a look of reluctance. However, this reluctance disappeared immediately after seeing Zhao Meng next to Su-mu. Little girl, young man, this is my son Wu Peng, how about he show off his talents? Why don't you young people add your contact information? We are all in the 9th security zone, so we can take care of each other. Auntie looked familiar and followed Su-mu out of the high-speed train. Su-mu and Zhao Meng looked at each other helplessly. It's no trouble anymore. The 9th security zone is so big that we may not be able to encounter it by then. Su-mu refused aloud. Zhao Meng on the side also quickly responded, yes, yes. That's it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we don't meet you. Just think of it as making friends. After my Pengpeng is admitted to Tsingwan Martial Arts University, he might be able to help you. The aunt didn't hear the refusal in Su-mu's words at all, and was still talking. By the way, where are you going? The staff of our cram school will drive us there. If it's convenient, I'll let them go later. Send it to you together. No need to bother, I also have a car coming to pick you up. Su-mu waved her hand. To be honest, facing such an over-enthusiastic aunt, Su-mu, a high school student who was traveling away from home for the first time, really couldn't stand it. Zhao Meng on the side obviously had the same feeling. The group of people walked all the way to the exit. Under the aunt's persuasion, his son Wu Peng finally successfully added Zhao Meng's contact information, and reluctantly added Su-mu's contact information. After arriving at the exit, the aunt's sharp eyes caught sight of a tall boy holding the Blue Sky Cram School of Qingmen Budo University. Hey, that's the person who came to pick us up. There was excitement on the aunt's face. Then he looked at Su-mu and Zhao Meng. The person who picked you up hasn't arrived yet, right? How about I ask them to drop you off? You're welcome, you're welcome. She led Wu Peng and ran to the tall boy. I don't know what he said, but the tall boy also walked in the direction of Su-mu. Originally, the tall boy still had a serious expression on his face. But after seeing Zhao Meng next to Su-mu, he was stunned for a moment and then put on a smile. Hello, I heard that you are also here to attend a cram school. I don't know which university's cram school it is. If you are on the way, I can drop you off together. Thank you, don't bother. I just sent a message. The car to pick me up should be here soon. She seemed to notice that the tall boy was talking to her. Zhao Meng responded with an apologetic smile. It's okay, no trouble, maybe the address of our cram school is next door. The tall boy said with a smile. At this moment, the aunt came to the side with her son. You're welcome, little girl, Instructor Liu is a very nice person. The aunt smiled and said, Instructor Liu, this little girl and the young man are just too shy. They all come to this 9th safe zone to participate in cram school. The little girl will attend it seems to be some sort of Qianlong cram school. Auntie started to remember. Instructor Liu on the side suddenly changed his face when he heard what the aunt said about Qianlong cram school, and the expression he looked at Zhao Meng was also a little different. Qianlong Cram School. That's a cram school for students from Longjing Martial Arts University. Instructor Liu said. Rukio Martial Arts University. Both the aunt and her son Wu Peng were a little surprised. You know, even top martial arts universities have their own hierarchy. Tsingwan Martial Arts University, for example, belongs to the third echelon among the top martial arts universities, and is also ranked last among the top martial arts universities. As for Longjing Martial Arts University, it is the top among the top martial arts universities. It's not on the same level as Tsingwan Martial Arts University. I never expected that you, my junior fellow student, are actually from the Qianlong Cram School of Longjing Martial Arts University. I heard that that cram school is extraordinary. Every year, they spend a lot of money to invite outstanding campers from the Genius Training Camp to teach in the cram school. Instructor Liu sighed. Road. Genius Training Camp. After hearing this, Auntie seemed to think of something. Her son Wu Peng on the side looked confused. What is a Genius Training Camp? Instructor Liu glanced at Wu Peng and answered. Genius Training Camp is a training camp organized by some top martial arts universities. All those who can participate are geniuses from various safe zones. If you can achieve excellent results in the training camp and become an outstanding campers can directly enter top martial arts universities without taking the exam, and our Qingwan Martial Arts University does not even have the qualifications to hold talent training camps. Senior Chen Hao, the chief instructor of our cram school, almost entered the talent training camp of Longjing Martial Arts University, but unfortunately, he still fell short. As he spoke, Instructor Lu suddenly pointed in one direction. Look, over there is the team specially used by Longjing Martial Arts University to welcome the talent training camp campers. They are all picked up and dropped off by dedicated personnel and cars. Just saying, but I saw the man in suit pointed by Instructor Lu over there looking towards this side. Immediately, he walked quickly in their direction. See that group of people coming. Instructor Lu's face suddenly changed slightly. I offended them. Cold sweat suddenly broke out on Instructor Lu's forehead. They saw those men in suits about to walk up to them. Instructor Lu quickly stepped forward with an apology on his face. Sorry, I didn't mean to. But before he finished speaking, he was passed by a man in a suit. Several men in suits looked at the surprised eyes of Instructor Lu, and Wu Peng's mother and son came straight to Su Mu. Student Su Mu, we have finally waited for you. Please come with us and we will take you to the camp. Looking at Su Mu's retreating figure, Instructor Lu and the others who were left behind felt as if they were being messed up in the wind. Even Zhao Meng looked a little surprised. She knew that Su Mu came here to participate in the talent training camp. But she didn't expect that Su Mu was participating in the talent training camp of Longjing Martial Arts University. You know, even in genius training camps, the difficulty is different. As Longjing Martial Arts University is the top among the top martial arts universities, the difficulty of its talent training camp is by no means comparable to that of ordinary talent training camps. Su Mu chose such a talent training camp, either because she didn't know how great the world was, and because she was young and energetic. Or you are more confident in yourself. But in any case, being able to participate in the talent training camp is enough to show Su Mu's genius. If Su Mu can still successfully achieve excellent results in the talent training camp of Longjing Martial Arts University, then Su Mu may really become someone they look up to in the future. I didn't expect this young man to be so powerful. The aunt looked a little disappointed. I thought my son was good enough. But compared with the young man just now, it is really far behind. My son also had to work hard to attend cram school at Qingmen Martial Arts University. Everyone has already participated in the talent training camp of Longjing Martial Arts University. The aunt suddenly remembered that she was showing off to others how great her son was in the car, and now it looked like her face was burning with pain. Wu Peng on the side is also similar. Originally, he was still enjoying his mother's sense of superiority bragging about him in front of beautiful women. He never even paid attention to Su Mu on the side. But I never expected it. Not only was the cram school that the beauty went to a cram school that was better than my own, it was also a Qianlong cram school that was difficult to get into. Even that boy who looked ordinary went to a talent training camp that made him stand out a lot. At this moment, he felt like a clown. He looked at Su Mu's retreating direction with some annoyance. You may not be admitted in advance if you go to the talent training camp. Maybe you will be a running companion in the past. His words reached Instructor Lu's ears. He looked at Su Mu's retreating figure, and his face felt slightly hot. Unexpectedly, this ordinary boy who he didn't even look at was actually a member of the genius training camp. He remembered how he had just been so frightened that he hurriedly apologized to the pickup staff of Longjing Martial Arts University, and suddenly felt a little embarrassed. In order to restore his image a little bit, he also followed Wu Peng's words and said, Indeed, only a few people who join the genius training camp every year can get the status of outstanding campers, many of them go to run with them, and there are a small number of people. Quote. Instructor Lu paused and said, there are still a small number of people who are going to die. Hearing what Instructor Lu said, Wu Peng was a little stunned. Will this genius training camp still die? Of course, the people in the genius training camp will face the aliens on the battlefield of 10,000 races. You know, even if we are a top martial arts university like ours, if we face the aliens on the battlefield of 10,000 races, we will have to face the aliens on the battlefield of 10,000 races. The second thing is that you have never seen the aliens on the battlefield, and you don't know how terrifying those aliens are. He seemed to be recalling something bad, and his face was a bit ugly. The aliens on the battlefield of all races and the aliens in the alien hunting ground are not on the same level at all. He looked at Wu Peng and his son, and glanced at Zhao Meng aside intentionally or unintentionally. He puffed out his chest and said, "Don't think it's a good thing for ordinary people to join the genius training camp. There are many geniuses in the genius training camp. Even so, there are still many talents. There is a certain mortality rate, and if ordinary people go in, they will basically die." Quote. Hearing what Instructor Lu said, the ant suddenly felt happy. Fortunately, Peng, you were not selected for that talent training camp. Otherwise, if something happened, what would you ask your mother to do? On the side, Zhao Meng, who was listening to the conversation between Instructor Lu and Wu Peng and his son, frowned slightly. Naturally, she could hear the sourness in Instructor Lu's words. However, I have to admit that what Instructor Lu said is indeed true. For ordinary people, the mortality rate in talent training camps is indeed very high. She looked in the direction Su Mu left. He murmured softly with some sigh, "I hope you can be safe." Just thinking about it, a fragrant breeze penetrated everyone's nostrils. Meng, I don't know when a figure appeared in front of Zhao Meng. Wu Peng and others also looked at the owner of the voice. At this look, not only the two men, Instructor Lu and Wu Peng, but even the ant could not help but froze on the spot. The woman in front of her was wearing a pair of sunglasses. He has a small oval face, fair skin, and thin lips as bright as roses. He smiles slightly, revealing 2 rows of neat teeth. The upper body is wearing a black leather jacket with a white suspender underneath, and the lower body is aqua blue jeans. Outstanding temperament and hot figure. If Zhao Meng is still a little white flower in bud, then the woman in front of her is a bright rose that has already bloomed. Sister Yan Shi, see women. Zhao Meng's face was filled with a smile. Sorry, there was something going on at school, so I came a little late. Are these your friends? The woman looked at Wu Peng and the others. The people I met in the car are considered fellow riders in the same car. Zhao Mengdao, hello. The woman nodded slightly towards the few people. At this time, Instructor Lu seemed to recognize the woman's identity all of a sudden. His face was full of disbelief, and he looked at the woman with some uncertainty. Are you Goddess Gu? Gu Yanxi glanced at Instructor Lu in surprise, then smiled and said, "They are all spreading rumors, are you?" Oh, I am a sophomore student at Qingwan Martial Arts University. My name is Lu Dali. Goddess Gu, you don't know that I am also normal. I only met you once in the college league competition before. You defeated us with one move. The school's senior Chen Hao was defeated, he was really awesome. Instructor Lu's attitude was very low and he said flatteringly. Ji Yu Yanxi smiled slightly when she heard this. It's just that classmate Chen Hao let me go when he saw that I was a girl. She looked at Zhao Meng. If nothing happens, then we should leave first. Okay. Instructor Lu nodded repeatedly. Ji Yu Yanxi also nodded towards him, and then left with Zhao Meng. Wu Peng on the side was still staring at Ji Yu Yanxi's back in a daze. Originally he thought Zhao Meng was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen, but when he saw Ji Yu Yanxi, he realized that he was wrong. Seeing his appearance, Instructor Lu on the side shook his head and said, "Don't look at it. It's not yours anymore. Goddess Gu, that is the dream girl of almost all the boys in our top martial arts universities. In the last college alliance her style in the competition is simply stunning. Those who chase her can probably circle the entire 9th safety zone." Instructor Lu looked at Ji Yu Yanxi's retreating figure. I couldn't help but sigh. I don't know what kind of person can be worthy of Goddess Gu. Sister Yan Shi, thank you so much. If it weren't for you, I probably wouldn't be able to get into this Qianlong class. Sitting in the car, Zhao Meng looked at Ji Yu Yanxi excitedly. Ji Yu Yanxi smiled slightly. No way, it's Meng who has the strength yourself. I just helped contact the senior Xiaolong from Qianlong class. It's a pity that I will go to the battlefield of all races in a while. Otherwise, you don't have to sign up for that cram school. I can take you in person for a few months. Hearing Ji Yu Yanxi's words, Zhao Meng was a little worried and said, Sister Yanxi, aren't the aliens on the battlefield of all races very scary? You must be careful. Actually, it's not bad. Ji Yu Yanxi smiled and said, students like us at Longjing Martial Arts University are elites even on the battlefield of all races. The superiors will not deliberately arrange tasks for you that you cannot complete. She paused for a moment, and then continued. Besides, if one day we can die in battle on the battlefield of all races, wouldn't it be the best destination for warriors like us? Zhao Meng lowered his head. But I don't want anything to happen to you, Sister Yanxi. Hearing this, Ji Yu Yanxi touched Zhao Meng's head and said, don't worry, your cousin and I are very strong. Yeah, Zhao Meng nodded. Sister Yanxi is the most powerful in my heart. By the way, Sister Yanxi, let me tell you something. I met a boy on the high-speed train here before. He came to participate in the genius training camp of Longjing Martial Arts University. Just before you arrived, he was raped by Longjing Martial Arts University. A group of people in suits from Kyobudo University took him away. Sister Yanxi, what level do you need to reach to participate in Longjing Martial Arts University's talent training camp? Hearing Zhao Meng's question, Ji Yu Yanxi said, Genius Training Camp. Then the boy you met in the car is quite amazing. If you want to enter the Genius Training Camp, you must first be at least the top 3 in your high school. If it's a low-level high school, you even need to be first. At this time, you can have a place to enter the talent training camp. After you have the place, you need to continue to choose which school to apply for. After the training camp, your information will be entered into the information database of the school you choose, and then the school you choose will screen you to determine whether you are qualified to participate in their school's talent training camp. The boy you are talking about should be an out-and-out genius. In recent years, the requirements of our school's genius training camp have become higher and higher. Those who can pass the assessment can enter our school's genius training camp, at least the 7th level martial artist. The 7th level of martial arts. Zhao Meng's little mouth opened slightly. Really or not, this is too high a requirement. Hasn't it only been about 2 months since the talent was awakened? Some people have already reached the 7th level of martial arts. Ji Yu Yanxi nodded. Never underestimate others. In 2 months, there are many people who have reached the 7th level of martial arts. And as far as I know, there is one who is in the same level as you and has now reached the level. A warrior in the 1st realm. 1st level warrior. Zhao Meng was so shocked that he couldn't even speak. Then he lowered his head in frustration. Sister Yanxi, I feel like I am not worthy of attending Longjing Martial Arts University. Ji Yu Yanxi consoled her. Silly Nizi, most people can't compare to that kind of evildoer. Moreover, these kind of people usually go to the outstanding campers of the genius training camp. They are not the same as you at all. That's right, don't worry too much. Meng, you have to believe in yourself. With your talent, as long as you work hard in the next 4 months, it is not very difficult to enter Longjing Martial Arts University. Well, I will definitely work hard. Zhao Meng clenched her fists. At the same time, Su Mu's side. After being picked up by a special car, Su Mu quickly arrived at the location of the training camp. The training camp is located inside Longjing Martial Arts University. On the way here, Su Mu could see the statue of the 7 saints of the human race erected by Longjing Martial Arts University. There are also many tombstones of human martyrs and so on. Longjing Martial Arts University can be said to be the largest martial arts university in the entire Daxia. Daxia has poured a large amount of resources into top martial arts universities, and among these top martial arts universities, the one with the most resources allocated is naturally Longjing Martial Arts University. After finally arriving at the destination of this trip, Su Mu also got off the special car. Led by a man in a suit, Su Mu came to a closed fortress. The fortress looks like a huge helmet from the outside, with a semicircular metal barrier on the outside. Right in front of the gate is Dragon Saint Zhou Aolong, one of the 7 saints of the human race. At the same time, he is also the honorary president of Longjing Martial Arts University. On the gate, the words, Genius Training Camp, are cast in metal with flying phoenixes. Student Su Mu, the next journey is up to you. I wish you good luck. Send Su Mu to the gate. The man in the suit also turned and left. Su Mu came to the gate alone, carrying a backpack. At the gate, there were 2 rows of warriors wearing armor. Their aura made Su Mu feel a little out of breath when she passed by. Although it was not as good as the top secret guard Su Mu had seen before, but it is far stronger than Sha Ru, a warrior in the 3rd realm. If you get closer, you can see that there are special people responsible for checking documents and the like. A series of extremely complex tests will also be done. The purpose is to prevent people with ulterior motives from sneaking into the talent training camp. This kind of testing generally involves all aspects, even down to hair, DNA and so on. The process is so rigorous that even if you use the talent of makeover to change your appearance and health, you will not be able to pass it smoothly. After confirming that Su Mu's identity is correct, the inspector at the door then indicated that Su Mu could enter the talent training camp. It was at this time that Su Mu felt that the aura of the 2 rows of warriors pressing against her at the door had completely disappeared. The warriors in the 2 rows of emotions had already focused all their attention on Su Mu when Su Mu first appeared. Once something goes wrong with Su Mu, they will probably arrest her immediately. Just entered talent camp. Su Mu saw a huge square. There were already many people standing on the square. Some people seemed to have formed teams in 2s and 3s. See Su Mu appear. A young man wearing green short-sleeved clothes walked in front of Su Mu with great interest and said with a kind face, "Hello, classmate, where are you from and what is your name? Do you want to consider joining us? I heard that there will be an assessment when you first enter the training camp. If you fail the assessment, you will be kicked out of the training camp directly. We will form a team at the same time, the chance of passing the assessment will be much higher. Hello, I'm from Bailon High School in the 3rd security zone. My name is Su Mu." Reaching out to avoid hitting the smiling person, Su Mu responded politely. But after he told Bailon High School, the young man's expression became a little strange. He hasn't spoken yet. Then I heard a tall young man behind him, with his head half tilted, sneered. Bailon High School, never heard of it. Nowadays, all high schools have quotas to participate in the talent training camp. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.